Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. I have a very special guest today. He's not only a tattoo artist, he's a boxer, a husband, a father, a skater, a surfer, a painter, Edward Norton's doppelganger, but he's more handsome. Please welcome to the podcast, Tim Hendricks.
How you doing, everybody? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, and thanks for being here. I'm psyched you're here. So my whole basis of this podcast is to talk to people who inspire me, people who are part of my life, and actually hear their story, what inspired them, and got them to where they are today. So we're going to take it back to, first and foremost, you were born in California.
Yes. Yeah, I was born in Bellflower, actually.
I heard of Bellflower. I've never been there, but
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's not a great place, but I was born in Bellflower at a Kaiser hospital back in the day,
Okay.
and my parents had Kaiser insurance, so I had to be born in Bellflower and then taken right back over to Fullerton. I was born in Bellflower, raised in Fullerton my whole life.
And how were you in school?
Terrible. Well, no, I was. So I was good in school. I hated school. I did not like school.
Me too.
There's a quote where it says, "Don't let schooling get in the way of your education." And I hated to be schooled. You know, I had good teachers and bad teachers, and I can recall most of all of them. You know, the mediocre ones, they don't stand out, but the good ones and the bad ones definitely stand out. But I was good. So I was a good student and a good kid up until my father passed away. And then I just kind of went nuts. That was I think I was about 12 and a half. You know that phrase, beware the man with nothing to lose. I kind of felt like I had nothing to lose anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just
You were
went,
12 when he died?
12 and a half, yeah.
And how did he pass away?
He got hit by a car riding his bicycle to school.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
That's crazy,
We didn't
man.
we didn't have that much money.
Yeah.
So my mom we had one car,
Okay.
And my mom used the car to pick up the kids to, do groceries, all that. She was a homemaker. And my dad would ride his bicycle to school, but it was also because he liked to get the exercise in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a art teacher, so he was going for his early class. I think it was his 8 a.m. class or something.
Don Wayne, right?
Yeah, Don Wayne Hendricks.
He was an artist, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked him up, actually.
Oh, cool! Right on. Thanks. I'm in the process of rebuilding another site for him right now, so people can still look at his artwork and all that. Because people come up to me all the time, especially since I own a shop in Fullerton now.
Yeah.
They come in and they introduce themselves, and they're either students or colleagues.
Okay.
And they always rave about them. And, this lady brought me all these drawings that he had done, and they were like Star Wars characters and all that.
Oh, wow.
He used to come into the Brea. He used to come into the Brea children's. I think it was like forgot what it was, like a elementary school. I think it was just like special elementary school or something. And he would go in there and do art lessons. And that was not uncommon for him. He would do that a lot. Just do art lessons for kids, volunteer time and all that. And she came in and just couldn't, she didn't have a bad thing to say about him.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have a brother and 2 sisters.
Okay.
So it goes boy, girl, and I'm the youngest boy.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So you're in school when your dad passed away and you're 12 years old. That must have changed everything, obviously.
Yeah. Can you turn my this one down a little bit?
Yeah. That's right. Right here? That's your
Oh, this is mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear it? Can you hear yourself better?
Oh, that's wait.
Yo, check.
Yeah, that's better. That's perfect.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Okay.
You couldn't hear yourself?
It was loud.
Oh, shit, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So after your dad passed, yeah.
So after that, I started becoming a pretty bad student.
Mm-hmm.
I ditched a lot, and I started hanging out, with the bad crowd.
Bad kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get rid of my gum. I'm not chewing.
Put over here, yeah, Taylor.
So I started hanging out with some friends in my neighborhood. We were always kind of up to no good. We got in a lot of fights. Then I discovered drugs and alcohol
At a young age.
at a pretty young age, which I can't even do. I still look back and imagine what my mom went through. I can't even imagine losing your husband and then trying to raise 4 kids on your own.
Yeah.
I still remember things and call her up and apologize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while because she told me last time. She said, "Look, you don't have to apologize anymore. It's okay. I've forgiven you for everything. I don't even care anymore. I don't want to know about this stuff." I'm like, okay. But
Because she was probably so busy, like trying to raise you guys that she couldn't.
dude, she had a high school education, so she had to take the money that we got because my dad was in Vietnam, so we got veterans funds, and he had life insurance.
Yeah.
So she planned all the money so she could pay tuition for college or whatever was left over from scholarships that my brothers and sisters got, and also pay the mortgage. You know what I mean?
Man.
Pay the car payment, the utilities, and then put herself through school. So she had to go back to school, and she got her degree for she got credentials to teach, and she started teaching at high school. It was pretty crazy, bro.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I look back and I'm like, man, I don't even know. I asked her one time, well, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
And she just kind of goes, I had no choice.
Just did it.
What do you mean? Yeah, she just looked at me confused, like I had no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you always have a choice. She could have just laid on the couch and collected state checks.
Totally.
But she didn't. She did it, and she's a strong woman, man.
My mom did the same thing. My dad died. She raised 3 boys on her own, so she was working several jobs, all that.
Yeah.
And that's how I got exposed to like going to shows and skateboarding because of my brothers. But were your brothers and sisters, were they affected like you were? Were they wilding out too?
No, I don't think so. I think my sister was a little bit younger. She was 9, I believe. Yeah, she was 9. And my older brother and sister, they were teenagers or late teens and getting into, both of them actually were in college. I think each of us, I mean, it affected us deeply because we were all close.
Yeah.
A really close family in a different way. But I think it hit me the hardest because he was like my best friend.
Yeah.
It was right at the time where you need a father. You're coming up in your teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, I lost my mind. There was times, my mom told my wife one time when we were having lunch, this kind of got brought up, and she goes, oh, he's living on borrowed time. Mm-hmm. And then she added to it by saying, he honestly, he should have been dead or in prison a long time ago. If I would get a call past, 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening and he wasn't home, I just figured it was like the cops or the coroner.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I put my mom through. And it's not like I grew up in a super gnarly neighborhood. It wasn't a great neighborhood, and there was definitely trouble to be found.
Totally.
And I found it.
Yeah.
But I could have avoided it, just like my sister did, and my brother and sister, my older brother and sister did. But I didn't. I found it.
Did you start failing classes and not going to school? And did you?
Yeah, I
kind of spiraling.
It kind of started to go because I did 1 year of high school, and it was like, and then I did. So I did after he passed. I did a year of junior high, and then I went to high school. But after that, it was kind of like A, D-, C. You know what I mean? B+, F. It was just all over the board because it all depended on the teacher, I think.
Totally.
I mean, I had a math teacher pull me out of class because, I just kind of, people were staring at me. People were wondering if I was going to break down and start crying at school. They didn't know. It was like, oh, Tim's dad died. So, you stick out like a sore thumb.
Totally.
And so I would, crack jokes in class or do something just to let them know that I was, hey, I'm
okay.
I'm okay, you know? And she pulled me out of class one time. Her name was Miss Stray. And she goes, I don't care. She goes, you're not cute, you're not funny, and you're not impressing anyone. I don't care if your dad died or not. Or she said, I don't care if your dad died. You're not getting away with that crap in my class.
Wow.
And man, she was so mean.
Holy shit.
I had a friend, Manny. I still talk to him. He's kind of
cool,
like,
though.
He's kind of like me. He was in the local neighborhood gang there. And, and he did well. I think he went to juvenile hall, a little bit of jail, a little bit of, time. Yeah. After that even. And then, he shaped up and he started building like soundproof rooms, like sound studios and stuff. But he hated her so much. I remember he hit her over like just fully whacked her with his book bag. Knocked her to the ground. Yeah, I think back then you didn't get expelled for that. You got suspended. Damn. And he got suspended for it.
That's crazy.
But yeah, everybody hated her, man. My mom disliked her, for all that as well. But so then there was teachers that kind of, they empathized. Either they had been through it. Totally. Or they understood in some way. And they were cool about it. They understood what I was going through. And also some teachers are just good teachers.
Yeah.
They make learning fun and
Totally.
interesting because they're interested in it.
Yeah.
They enjoy what they're teaching and they make it interesting.
Yeah.
And so I liked it. I liked certain classes, and then I kind of chose whether I wanted to fail or.
Yeah, he just didn't care.
I had a teacher fail me because I didn't do the homework, even though I aced every test.
Yeah.
And I went to the office and protested, and they gave me a C. They just met in the middle and gave me like C for it.
Yeah. It's interesting because now my son with his homework, they're like, as long as you turn your homework in on time, then you're going to pass. That's what they tell my son now. Like, so there's a balance between the homework and what you do in the classroom,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm gonna be when my kid gets in like high school. What type of parent? If I'm gonna walk in and or I'm gonna talk to him and be like, listen, I'll go talk to the teacher about this homework thing.
It's hard.
I think it's ridiculous.
And all the math has changed too. How they do math is so different now. There's a new way they do math.
Oh, great. I got to relearn everything.
You do. It's crazy. The multiplication, all that's a different way they do it now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I never graduated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't. I left school, so about 15 and a half, 16, I think, is when my mom finally just threw me out. And
Damn.
I went to a movie with a family friend. He was really cool. This guy was like, he was touched in the head. He was a genius.
Yeah.
But he was very weird. Like the first time that I hung out with him, my mom wanted me to go hang out with him. I wanted to go hang out with Chuck. His name was Chuck Foster. And we went and hung out. I think we got dinner and went to a movie. And he was one of my dad's friends.
Okay.
Man, he blew my mind. He talked about stuff that now I'm realizing was like on a quantum physics type of level.
Yeah.
And quantum theory and things like that, and how to, gain control back of my life. And I came home one time and I said, Mom, Chuck's kind of weird. And she goes, she's like, yeah, but this is when my family was a little bit more religious, on a religious aspect. But,
okay.
But she goes, yeah, but I think Chuck's a little bit closer to God than what most people would be.
Interesting.
It was pretty trippy, and so anyways, back to throwing me out. I went to a movie with him when I got back. My uncles were there. My dad's brothers were there.
Yeah.
And I kind of immediately knew. Everything that I owned was in hefty bags on the porch because they didn't have time to like pack it up nice in boxes.
Yeah.
They just shoved everything in that room in hefty bags, and I could sort it out later.
Wow.
And my Uncle Paul goes, "Hey Timmy," that's what all my family on that side calls me. "Hey Timmy, you're gonna come live with us for a while." I was like, "All right, let's go." Tried to be like, cool guy about it. And we got in their car, packed up all the stuff, and got in their car, and that was it. My mom booted me out, which. Rightfully so.
Holy shit.
I was terrible. I mean, dude, I had all kinds of stolen stereos in my room. I had like VCRs, all kinds of stuff. We used to break into houses. We used to, I used to break into cars. I used to steal anything and everything. And it's horrible because thieves are awful. I was an awful human.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I did it. It paid for my habits, and it put a little cash in my pocket.
And that was immediately after your dad died, everything changed.
Yeah, it was just
a good path before that.
It was like the downward slide.
Yeah.
I was on a good path before that. And throwing me out was the best thing my mom could ever have done. So I moved in with my uncle, and man, this is crazy. I've never told this full story before. I haven't. To my wife,
Yeah.
But people always ask me about tattoo shit.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
And yeah. But I mean, everyone's already heard that story, so it's nice being able to tell this.
People have called my podcast therapeutic. So
that's cool. Well, you're easy to talk to, man.
Thank you.
So I went and lived with my uncle, and he was like, "You got to get a job, Timmy. You got to get a job." And so I would work with him on the weekends, but I had to get a real job. My first, I had a paper route and some, odd jobs when I lived with my mom. But I got a job at a Krikorian movie theater. I don't even know if they have those anymore.
What is that?
I don't know. Probably got bought out by AMC, but it's like, one of those.
Independent one or something, yeah.
Yeah. And my uncle lived in Palos Verdes, which was a trip, man, because that was like a bunch. I never lived in a rich...
That's fancy, yeah.
Yeah, I never lived in a rich neighborhood. We didn't grow up like that, and I would trip. And then it was this continuation where these kids down the school from like Carson and this place called the Dog Patch, which is a gnarly neighborhood around the corner from there. They would drive up the hill to go to this continuation. So you see kids like driving up in Porsches. They were like 16 and got Porsches and had like a burrito sack of cocaine in their pocket.
Damn.
And then you see guys getting dropped off by their parents, you know what I mean? In like an old beat up Suburban or a station wagon coming from the other neighborhood. And they were gnarly dudes.
Wow. That's crazy.
Which actually kind of saved me because the first week of school I got into a fist fight. Because, people test you. You go to continuation. They're going to test you and see what you're made of. And it's kind of like a mini prison.
Sounds like it.
And I got into a fist fight. This guy got in my face, and I just hit him as fast as I could. And
was that your first fight?
No. I'd been in many fights before that.
Okay.
But I hit him, and we tussled a little bit, and then the teacher broke it up, and we sat back down. We were playing dominoes. What kind of, like...
That's crazy.
Dude, this was like, I was a freshman and playing dominoes in a continuation school, and then he just kept at it, so I hit him again, and this time I busted his eye open, and he threatened me, and then, I just left. I had a little piece of crap car, a 79 Toyota Corolla that my grandpa gave me with like purple bubbled up tint. I got in my car and I just left. Before I even got sent to the office or anything, I just left the room. I was like, this is what you do in these situations. I just busted this dude's eye open. So I got in the car, I left, I drove home, and I walk in the house, and my uncle, he was a pretty rowdy dude, and he was a bouncer and a bodyguard. He ended up being like elite bodyguard for a lot of famous people.
Okay.
So he kind of understood those situations. But I walk in, he's all, hey, Timmy, what are you doing home? And I'm like, I got into a fight. And my aunt, remember my aunt, she was like, ugh. And she like walked in the other room. And he goes, well, did you lose? I'm like, no, I don't think I lost. And then right then the phone rang, and he picks up his phone, and it was the school. And he's like, well, apparently that kid's on his way to the hospital. Let's go back to school.
Oh, shit.
So he drove me back, and we had a conversation with the principal, and he said that I must have had a domino in my hand because, and my uncle just argued and said, no, I don't think so. He said he didn't.
Yeah.
And we walk outside, and all that guy's friends were out there. And even in front of my uncle, they were like, we're gonna fuck you up.
Right in front of him, they didn't care, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
And my uncle looks at me and he goes, why don't you go handle your business? I'll go wait in the car. And he just left me and goes and waits in the car, to kind of be like, be a man. And I walked up to the dudes and I said, all right, well, do what you got to do. And they didn't do anything. Well, I guess when I was suspended for 5 days, this guy, his name was Freddie, and they called him Boom Boom, because I guess at that age he had already been firing off guns a lot.
Okay.
And he had met me earlier that week and knew that I grew up in Fullerton, and he was like, no way, man, I was in juvenile hall with some guys from Tokerstown. Do you know Tokerstown dudes? I was like, yeah, man, I grew up with a few of those guys, and he was like, no way, and we just hit it off.
Yeah, it's cool.
And so he stood up for me, and he said, and anybody fucks with Tim, they got to fuck with me too. And
that's
so
awesome.
Everybody left me alone.
Wow.
And that's
was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was my experience at the continuation school in Palos Verdes.
So it is like the first day in prison, though. You get checked, and then you stand up.
Yeah, or anywhere,
respect.
Anything like that. Probably a boarding school. Probably juvenile hall or YA.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, but my uncle, man, it was really cool. Like, I got really lucky because that those guys were in my life because I didn't have any positive male role models.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked towards, these guys in my neighborhood, which they weren't good positive male role models. But they were older, and I just thought they were cool. And,
totally.
And then I went to live with my uncle, and he taught me how to be a man, at least as much as he could in the year that I lived with him.
Yeah.
And I wrote him a really nice, heartfelt letter. Like years later, my aunt said he cried.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm getting emotional just talking about it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How many years you lived with him for?
I just lived with him for a year, Okay. And I moved in with him.
But that year seemed like a long time. You learned so much.
Dude, at that age, a year is like an eternity.
It is, dude.
You learn so much, and you change so much. And I moved in with him like 135 pounds soaking wet,
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I moved out of like 160, 170 pounds, and I grew at least a full inch, maybe more.
A year,
I would wake up, and he'd be like, come on, Timmy. This is before, you know what I mean? Like, that I really enrolled in school and got a job and all that.
Yeah.
So there was like a couple of months that were brutal. He would wake me up, and he would make me eat He'd make me eat or drink like a shake, like a protein shake, and then we'd go and work out at Gold's Gym where he worked out at because he was he was all into bodybuilding.
As a teenager, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he made me go to Gold's Gym. I mean, it got to the point where I was barely curling the bar. I was so weak, and then be like, okay, and I just like walk like Gumby back to the car, and then we go back to the house, and he'd cook me this huge breakfast again, and then he'd make me eat like another protein shake, or I could eat a can of beans, you know.
Damn.
And
some military shit. Yeah.
It was kind of gnarly. I don't know. I wonder if he remembers that, but I did
really
that for a while.
That's.
Yeah, well, he just knew I was all sucked up and just, you know.
Yeah. Were you getting sober at that time living with him, or you still kind of?
I smoked a lot of pot.
Yeah.
That was about it. I drank with my friends and smoked a lot of pot. But then once I met some friends out there, you know, you always find those people. Mm-hmm. You know, I could walk into a room and point out exactly where the drugs are still.
Wow.
And I've been sober for 10 years, you know.
Wow.
So, you know, you just kind of once you build that radar, it never goes away. And so totally. I found people, you know, this guy Ryan and this other guy Marco, and we all started hanging out and, you know, smoking a lot of weed, just what teenagers do, and drinking.
Is this senior year or something, or?
Nah, this would have been like freshman, sophomore.
Wow, okay.
No, sophomore. I think it'd be about sophomore year, around there, or what would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe junior, I don't know. And then we started, you know, discovering other stuff.
Yeah.
Other drugs.
Heavier shit.
It got a little bit harder, but I didn't really have like an issue with it, I think. I think it was more or less just like a recreational thing. Like I didn't start doing drugs and alcohol because of peer or because of because it's so amazing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did it because of peer pressure. Like I did it because I wanted to be cool and fit in.
Yeah.
That's really why. That's so ridiculous. It's so stupid as it sounds. But when you're a teenager, man, you are so self-conscious.
100%. Insecure, all that, yeah.
Yeah, man, you do not feel comfortable in your skin at all. I mean, I look at teenagers now, I'm like, oh my God, this poor kid. You can just see how uncomfortable and awkward he is just by the way they walk, you know? And so I did it because it made me, you know, I did it because of peer pressure, but then I kept doing it because of the way it made me feel. You know? It took away all my sadness over my father.
Yeah.
It took away all my awkwardness around other girls or you know, peers.
Yeah.
It just made me feel comfortable, you know, and that's right where I wanted to be. And the only way to feel comfortable was to just smoke weed and get drunk.
Get numb,
you know? Yeah, just get numb to it. And so I just kept doing that. And then, you know, I kind of stopped. I started being more productive. I left my uncle's house and I moved in with my friend's parents, my friend Ray in Fullerton that I grew up with anyways.
Yeah.
His dad built a little like house for me in the garage. It was really nice. Yeah. He even put the address on it and put a half, you know, on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They were really good to me. And I got a whole nother like
family kind of thing.
Yeah, family thing there, you know, because...
Were you not talking to your mom at all during those years?
You know what? I started talking to her again, but I wasn't talking to her when I lived with my uncle.
Okay.
I refused. Just being a little turd.
Yeah.
And
resented her probably.
Yeah, resented her. And I started talking to her again, and I was still driving out to like Torrance where I had a job, you know, 40 minutes on the freeway every day and driving back in that little Toyota.
Were you doing art and stuff then too? Still doing that?
Always doing
drawing.
art.
Okay.
Yeah. I was always doing art. I used to I would practice with homemade tattoo machines, like at my aunt's house. I lived with my aunt for a while too. So here's the thing. Like, you'd have to bring my mom in here, man. I should have drove up with my mom because she knows the timeline on a lot of stuff. You know, because like, so I started, you know, I got my first, like tattooing, for example. I got my first homemade tattoo, you know, by some old cholo dude in a garage, just got out of prison. And I got it in a garage at a tattoo party in Fullerton.
Fuck.
And
how old were you?
My mom says I was 15 and a half.
Okay.
And then I started, maybe I was 16. Who knows? This is what my mom says. I go by what my mom says because she's got a pretty good memory.
For sure.
And then I remember seeing it and being like, I could do that. And I tried to make homemade machines. They didn't work. Dude, I tried to like solder a sharpened up guitar string needle to a little hair clipper, like one of those little mini hair clippers to get, you know, sideways to get like a buzzing motion. It kept breaking off of the hair clipper and I couldn't get it to stay.
That's some prison shit. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I tried to make shit out of guitar, Walkman motors and all that, and none of it ever worked. It just worked like shit. But I would try, and I would try to do little hand poke stuff. And then, then there was living with my uncle for a year. So obviously I wasn't doing anything up there.
Yeah.
And then I moved back, and then after, I think after Ray's house, I was living with my aunt in Huntington Beach, and I was just surfing a ton, and she was complaining about how I was stealing her batteries out of her smoke detectors to make homemade tattoo machines.
That's awesome.
And then I was doing a couple of little homemade ones that weren't too bad. And
what was your obsession with it? You just loved the way tattoo. You just loved the whole culture, and
I was just drawn to it.
Yeah,
I can't even describe it. Why is an artist drawn to making art?
Yeah.
Why is a musician like yourself drawn to creating music?
I was wondering if you saw kids in the neighborhood with tattoos. Like,
yeah.
Shit,
I mean, everybody had homemade tattoos and different things. I mean, it was that kind of neighborhood.
Yeah.
But then my friend introduced me to this girl named Kristen.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to get through this story without getting emotional because
okay, I want to look at you.
No, it's okay. I don't care. I'm very secure in my masculinity, bro. It's because the person that this ends up being important of just passed away.
Okay.
3 days ago.
Oh wow.
But
sorry, that's crazy.
No, it's okay. But so Kristen, she was like, okay, my dad sells tattoo machines, and I'm gonna ask him to sell you a tattoo machine. Now, even though this is super taboo, you can't sell a tattoo machine to a kid.
Yeah, crazy.
But she really tried talking to him about it, and I guess he agreed. And I went down to this place, and I've told this story before, man. But honestly, this is like one of my most important stories of tattooing, because I always tell people tattooing found me.
Okay.
I was intrigued by it, but so she gave me an address. She gave my friend an address to give me, and all it had on it said 22 Chestnut, Long Beach.
Okay.
And I had to get on a Thomas guide.
Oh shit! Okay.
Now, a lot of tattooers out there, just if they're listening to this, they hear the address and they automatically know exactly where I'm heading to.
Okay.
But it said 22 Chestnut, and I looked it up in the Thomas guide, and I wrote a map. And my cousins, hopped in the car. I think they were like 12 and 14. I don't know. They were young.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we jumped in the car, and we drove to Long Beach in that little purple piece of shit Corolla. And I was like, what the hell? There's nothing down here, And I was driving around in circles, and I finally found this tattoo shop in this corner, this big building. And it said world famous Burt Grimm's, 22 Chestnut, It said expert tattooing and
expert, that's awesome.
And yeah, there was this sign that was out there that Dave Gibson painted on the other side too. There's like this little pillar, and you walk in, and there was just one person standing behind the counter. His name was Rick Walters. And
rest in peace.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, so he's sitting behind the counter, and he had a red hat on that said, "Yes, it hurts." Like
that's awesome.
And this great big long beard, and it was all stained all around it from cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Are you Tim? You my daughter's friend?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, sir." And he goes, "You have $225? That's how much this machine is, $225. I'm all, "Yeah, I got $225. I mean, it was probably, a lot of it was in ones and change. Who knows? Like, that was a big deal for me back then. That was everything I had and borrowed.
Yeah.
And my cousin just sat there quietly, and he brought me back. I sat down at his station. I remember, Catfish Carl, the guy who made the machine, he actually posted a photo of Rick's station recently, and man, it's crazy because my memory's so sour in a lot of areas, and my timelines are all screwed up, but I remember that tattoo station very well. Mm-hmm. And I sat down at it, and he plugged it in, and back then when you bought a machine, it came with a tube and a needle. I think it was just a nice setup, I'd like to bring that back. I might start doing that now,
That's cool.
But came with a tube and a needle, and he handed it to me. He's like, "You know how to use one of these things? You know how to use a professional machine?" And I just was honest. I'm not going to lie. I was like, "No, sir, I've only used homemade stuff, And he's all, "Okay." And he grabbed his clip cord, and it was connected to one of those old power supplies with the meters on it that electrical, like an electrical engineer would use or something, And he plugged it in, and he grabbed my hand. And no gloves, no anything. He had a cup of water, and he dipped it in the water, and he goes, "It's a good thing you only got 3 letters in your name." And he wrote my name on my hand, and with no ink, just to kind of give me the
Holy
lowdown.
shit.
Yeah, and I just took it. I took it like, I mean, I can't say I took it like a man. I took it like a
Where in
teenager.
the top of your hand? Or just...
Right on the top of my hand.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
He goes, that's how it works. And I said, okay. And he goes, and I scanned the entire station.
Okay.
Like scanned it and took a mental note. And I remember seeing Pelican ink on there. And I was like, I know that. You know what I mean? I used to see that in my dad's art station. It's a drawing ink.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you have any ink? And I'm like, no. And he goes, you want to buy some? Well, okay. He's, I'll sell you this bottle for $100. And I go, no, thank you. And he just kind of laughed and he goes, he, I think he liked that I was like, no, that I'm not, you're not getting over on me on a bottle of ink. And I got my machine and I left, man. And I just started going to town on people. He put in, I think he put in a 3-needle. As I recall, there was a 3-needle liner in there. And I tattooed at least 100 people with that same little 3-needle liner.
Damn.
I sprayed it down with alcohol.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
And I got one of those power supplies at a little place called Orvac down the street from my house. And I just tattooed anyone and everyone that I could. And I think around that time, my mom let me move back in with her to save some money. Okay. We were talking at the time. She let me move back in. She made me pay rent.
Wow.
She made me pay $400 a month in rent. And I remember, I mean, you could get a studio apartment for $425 around that time.
Back then, yeah.
But then you have to pay utilities and all that. And I remember I complained about it once. I'm all, Mom, $400? Well, the mortgage on the house is $360 because they bought it in the 70s.
Oh, shit.
And she goes, that's how much the going rate is for a room these days. If you want, you can pitch in on utilities too. And I just went, oh, that's fine.
Damn.
But she let me set up a station in the garage. And my dad had built a studio in there, so he built a wall that cut the garage in half.
That's cool.
So I built it in his studio, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I tattooed everyone that I could get my hands on in the neighborhood. It didn't matter how old they were. It didn't matter
how old they were.
Dude. I think around that time I was around 18. 18, 19 when I got that first professional machine.
Yeah.
And so that's when I kind of say my professional career started, even though it was still pretty unprofessional. Mm-hmm. I had professional equipment. I started ordering stuff from tattoo catalogs, and I started meeting other, tattooers here and there, and they wouldn't give me any information. But so I met this one guy named Kevin Guglio, and he was really cool. And he's an old punker dude, and he talked to me about tattooing, and he was really nice. And then there's this other guy named Tim. He used to hang out there, and he actually works out in the Midwest, I think now. Amazing tattooer. He worked at Tattoo Land at the time.
Okay.
And we used to play. As strange as it sounds, we bonded through Bubble Bobble, that video game.
Bubble Bobble, yeah.
We used to just sit and play that, and Tim would trip out on it because I could beat the game every time.
That's crazy random.
Yeah, and so Kevin, he actually was like, where are you getting your needles from? And I go, I buy them from Jimmy Steele. Do you know who Jimmy Steele was? Mm-mm. He was like a gnarly punker skinhead
back in the
dude.
Day, yeah.
And a tattoo artist. He passed away a few years ago from he got loaded again, got an abscess, and I think he was too weak for them to amputate, so they just made him comfortable.
Wow.
But I used to buy needles off of him, and he's like, dude, you don't know how to make needles? I'll take you to my house and teach you how to make needles,
Oh, shit.
And so I went to his house, and I made needles dude, he taught me how to make needles. I made needles until he kicked me out of his house. That was like a huge deal. Like, I could make needles now.
That's awesome,
The next thing I needed to learn how to do was like make ink, and I had it all.
That's cool.
And so I learned how to make needles, and then and I was still doing a lot of tattoos in my garage, but they were getting a lot better. And I actually had a portfolio.
That's cool.
And so I started going around and trying to get jobs. And I went to the first place I went was Classic Tattoo.
Yeah.
And because that was the shit. Mm-hmm. Classic was, and I lived in Fullerton. You know. So I went to Classic. And Chummy was behind the counter. He was a counter guy at the time. And he was like, oh, hey. He kind of remembered me from, hanging out in that area and all that. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a job. He's like, oh, let me talk to Eric. And he went back and he said, hey, Eric, there's this guy here who tattoos around here. He's looking for a job. And Eric just looked over and he goes, we're not hiring. And I go, and that was, dude, that's like tattoo shops, So it's not like he was like an exceptional dick at the time.
Yeah,
he was just doing what tattooers do.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, that's okay, man. I totally understand. If it's cool, I'll wait until you're done with the tattoo. If you could look at my book, and I'll leave my card. And if you ever consider me when you are hiring, you'll have the card on file. And he just looks at me dead in the eye and goes, "We're not hiring." I go, "Okay, I'll see you later." And Chummy's like, "Sorry, man." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Damn. And then I went straight over to Romo Inc.
Okay.
Danny Romo, yeah. And Danny was behind the counter, and he, Danny's so cool. He's just like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm from this neighborhood, and I'm trying to look for a job." And I showed him my portfolio, and he just said, "Well, you know what? It's kind of more of a family business here, me and my brother, And he looked at my portfolio, and he was really nice to me. And he said, "You know what? Give me your card. Maybe if we leave on a trip or something, I'll have you cover the shifts."
That's cool.
And he never called, but he was really cool. I told that story like 15, 20 years later when he was doing a little shamrock on my hand for the, Shamrock Salsa Club for St. Patty's Day, a little single needle one. And he looked at me, he's all, "Really?" With his kind of one eye closed, he has that look. And I'm all, "Yeah, man." And he goes,
funny, man.
He's all, "Wow, I should have hired you." And I'm like, "No." I'm like, honestly, I wouldn't have hired me back then.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is years later, Eric actually told Chummy to ask me if I wanted to work there. And I was in a really comfortable place at the time. I was in a great spot. I was working with some badass tattooers, and I was stoked, and I was progressing. And I said, "You know what, man? I would love to, but I'm in a good spot. But tell him, I'll tell him that I'll definitely keep that on hand. If it doesn't work out here, I would love to go down there." And I said, "Hey, man, Chummy, does he remember that I was that kid that came in or whatever?" He's all, "Nah, he doesn't remember." I'm all, "Tell him the story. I bet he'll get a laugh out of it." And he goes, "Fuck,
It's so crazy, man.
I'm always a dick to people, and it gets me into trouble like this." And he laughed about it.
Wow.
And we were always cool, There was no offense taken, but I always thought that was funny,
That is crazy.
Now I own the place.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
It's so crazy,
dude.
Man.
If you would have told me back then, like if somebody would have stopped me, some fortune teller from the future would have stopped me as I'm walking in from my piece of crap car in the Classic to try to get a job back then, it would have said,
"How many years
hey,
later was that?"
Just so you know, don't get too down on yourself when you get turned down, because you're going to own this place someday. I would have laughed and said, "Yeah, whatever you say there, crazy guy."
How many years later is it since?
I don't know, man. I must have walked in there in the late 90s.
Yeah.
No, 97? You'd have to ask Chummy.
Yeah.
That was when Chummy just got a job there. So,
okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I bought the place now. I bought the place 5 years ago now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was telling that story to somebody about the other day because I was talking about how Danny Boy from House of Pain, his favorite movie was The Outsiders, and he just bought The Outsiders house. He redid the whole thing. He brought all this money to the community. And he moved to wherever it's at, Montana, wherever it is. And so Danny Boy moved there. It's like the mayor of the town, but he restored The Outsiders house from his favorite movie, made it a museum.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's pretty cool, like
man.
his childhood favorite movie,
Yeah.
That's what you do. You got your favorite spot, like your shop.
Oh,
it's pretty amazing,
dude,
man.
There's a guy there, John Troller, who's been working there for 12 years or something.
Yeah.
And I tattooed him when he was 15 out of my garage at my mom's house. And he told me then, all I want to do is become a tattooer, and I want to work at Classic Tattoo.
Wow, man.
Yeah, and he works there. He's living his dream as well.
That's amazing, man.
It's pretty wild. But I haven't changed anything. I've only brought more stuff in, just more old stuff, more, a lot of my collection.
Yeah.
I've changed. The only changes I've made are things that that I know from Eric's friends telling me that he wanted anyways. Like he always said there was too big of a lobby, so I pushed out. I did the original, like all the original trim and everything. I had this guy Rob Copes. It was Eric's friend, and he pushed it out, but still rebuilt it exactly the same as how all the countertops were. And I did things like that. I just got a new neon put in. A lot of guys don't know this because they haven't been buying a while. I accidentally broke the old neon. I was so bummed. I got it made exactly the same way, but this time I had Eric Moskey's in cursive wrote above it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, when I was buying the place, man, the dad, Dave, I never saw him get. Dude, he's a gnarly dude. I met him when I got sober. He helped me a little bit during that time, and we became friends. Actually, we knew each other before that, but I got close to him when that happened. But I remember sitting him at breakfast when we were going over the arrangements for me to try to buy it. And he's like, what are you going to name it, man? And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, what am I going to name it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, what are you going to name it? Tim Hendricks Classic Tattoo? Are you going to change the whole Classic Tat part? And I'm like,
no.
Dave, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
It's going to be still named Eric Moskey's Classic Tattoo.
That's cool, man.
I'm like, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked at me puzzled, and he's like, yeah, that's okay with me, man. He's all, you do that? And he got crocodile tears. Man, I never seen this guy get emotional in my life.
Yeah.
And he got teared up, and I'm all, yeah, man. I mean, that's Eric's name. That's his shop. You know, I feel like I'm the caretaker for now.
Totally.
I'm doing my best. And believe me, I've been critiqued. You know, and I got a lot of watchful eyes, especially when I first bought it, man. There was people that called down angry and screaming and people hating. Well, you know, they everybody thinks that it should be the way they remember it, or the way or the way that they're basing it on their relationship with Eric, you know. And I can never compare to Eric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
I'm not Eric.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't bring him back, and I can't compare to the friendship and the way that you remember that, and the vibe that maybe it was when you got your first tattoo there, and the way you remember that whole experience.
Totally.
You know, but what I can do is just carry on that tradition the best way that I know how.
Respectfully, all that stuff.
Yeah, in a respectful manner, you know.
Yeah.
And when I told Dave, you know, I said, hey man, my name's fine. Like, Good Time Charlie's is still Good Time Charlie's, and Jack Rudy owns it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Jack Rudy is still fucking Jack Rudy, you know? But it's still Good Time Charlie's. And Burt Grimm's was Burt Grimm's forever. Rick Walters ran that shop for 20 years, you know? But it was still Burt Grimm's. And everyone still knows who Rick Walters is, you know? So it's kind of like, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, my name's my own name.
Yeah, people
and
know you already. Yeah.
The shop's a shop.
Yeah. So when you started tattooing a lot and started getting the name out there, and you were still kind of partying. So what made you want to become sober? Was it because of your career, or was it that?
Death?
Okay. Well, that's that would do it.
I mean, dude, I kind of tell people now, you know, especially younger kids who look towards guys like us who have actually time, because it's kind of an anomaly to stay sober this long, especially to be addicted to hard drugs, you know. You know, one day I'm going to have this conversation with my kids, and I talk to because I'll just speak plainly about it.
Yeah.
And I talked to my friend Chuku, and he says, don't say that stuff, because once they find out. Yeah. And then, you know, I've talked to my mom, my wife about it, and I've just come to a decision where I'm just going to talk about it. And if they hear interviews like this, it's okay, because everything ended up on a positive note.
Totally.
I just, God forbid, they go down that path and have to learn. I hope they learn from my mistakes and not their own. But when you're addicted to opiates like heroin or OxyContin, the chances of getting sober and staying sober, I mean, I think it's less than 10%.
Damn.
You know, so. Yeah. So I'm either destined, like if I live forever, I would get loaded again. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the finish line, which is my death, without, you know what I mean, relapsing.
Yeah.
So it's either die or relapse. And if I relapse, it's either die or get sober. Yeah. So it's really simple. When you break it down like that, it's simple. Yeah. So I got to the point where it's a progressive disease, you know, and it progressed really slowly with me. Yeah. You know, and I was very functional because I kind of based my life to fit my habit perfectly. Gotcha. You know, I mean, I was a freaking tattoo artist, for crying out loud. I didn't have to be at work till noon, and I'd still show up late. Yeah. Like, I get down on my employees for that, but I understand. They're not junkies. Yeah. They don't have that excuse. Yeah. But it was like, you know, I was like, come on, Tim, how are you going to show up fucking late to work? You have to be there at 12. You don't have to be there at 9. I know. And I'd show up late, but I mean, my whole life fit my habits perfectly.
So it wasn't affecting your work?
No. It wasn't affecting my work. I could still hustle and make money. And then tattoo artists get paid that day. I get cash in my pocket that day. Man. So I would just go out and you know, get wasted that night. And then the more money I made, the larger my habit got. Yeah. And so for me, it wasn't like when I got sober, living out of my car with some crazy tweaker chick screaming at me out of the window, and I was in a Chevron bathroom trying to keep the door closed while trying to find a vein.
Yeah.
You know, like I actually never put a needle in my arm. I never actually, went intravenously because I figured once I did that, the romance was dead.
Okay.
And I had gone to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I would just smoke and snort and in any other way, you know what I mean, orally
Yeah.
take. But so it wasn't like that, when I showed up and asked people for help, I was doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't, I had like a Harley. I
Crazy.
hadn't lost everything like some other people do because it
Yeah.
was just such a slow progressive disease and it allowed me time to fit everything perfectly around it.
Yeah.
But when I finally got to the point where I decided I wanted to get sober, because I had tried many times before that, and I was kind of like, dude, I'm over trying.
Yeah.
I had actually given up and been like, I'm going to be just a functional addict for the rest of my life.
Damn, there's people that do that still, man. There's musicians that still do that.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
yeah,
man.
and
I won't say no names, but there are. It's insane.
Oh, I still have friends that,
Yeah.
they're functional. They're very functional act. There's different types of alcoholics and addicts.
Yeah.
There's lots of different levels. That's what makes it so hard to identify yourself as one. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to identify myself as an addict when everything you're taught as a kid is if you're an addict, you're in an alley somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just waiting for the methadone clinic to open up. And then after that, you're going to go try to hustle up some more
Totally.
dope.
Yeah.
That's what I was taught was an addict. And I was like, well, I'm not an addict. Look at me. And so it's not like I had a drug using problem, or a stopping problem. Like I could stop. I would stop all the time, and I'd detox and I'd watch movies and just take a bunch of, you know what I mean, like happy pills that help me get through the detox, and then I'd stop doing those, and then I'd be fine for a few months, and then I'd start again. And then it would be worse each time. So I had like a staying stopped problem.
Gotcha.
But when I eventually stopped is because I had a heart attack. And
Holy shit.
yeah, I had a cardiac arrest. Doctors won't like to call it heart
In your
attacks.
20s?
No, I was 33 when that happened.
Oh, shit.
I had just met the love of my life. I met the woman. I'm going to adjust the mic so I can lean back a little bit.
Shit.
I met the woman of my dreams, my wife now. And we were hanging out in Miami and we were partying. And my wife still says, she's like, man, I did more drugs my entire life in that short period with you than I ever did like before that.
Wow.
But we party, and she's a normie, she's not an addict in any way, shape, or form. She could take it or leave it. But we were partying in Miami, and I was working, and I bought a bag, and I was doing Oxycontin, and she went to bed at like probably 7 a.m. We just watched the sunrise, and we went back to the little apartment, and she went to bed, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to bed. There's still like half a bag left. I'm just going to keep sitting in there because I can't just like not do it if it's there. So I'm just still doing it, and I just felt all funny, man. And I kept getting these weird sensations and these weird feelings and symptoms.
Yeah.
I started typing it into WebMD. I'm not kidding you, dude. WebMD, and it just kept coming up, cardiac arrest, cardiac arrest, cardiac arrest.
Shit.
And I was like, no way, dude. Let me wait a little longer. I'll wait a little longer. Maybe it'll pass. It's just the drugs. It's just the drugs. And then I read on WebMD, it said the most common reason why people die of a heart attack is not really the heart attack itself, or the cardiac arrest itself, because that can be fixed if you're out of the hospital. It's that they wait too long to go to the hospital.
Oh, shit.
And I hear about it. I know people that have passed of cardiac arrest because they were complaining about a pain 3 days before.
Yeah. 3 days, yeah.
And
Fuck.
And so I went, shit, man. I woke up my wife. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. It's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to call Mark. I didn't have a car.
Okay.
I'm not going to call a taxi and wait for a taxi. I called my friend Mark, and he had gotten sober about 3 years before me. And we used to party a lot in Miami.
Okay.
He was out showing people houses. He did real estate, and he swings over, picks me up. By the time he got there, I needed help down the stairs. By the time I was he was running every red light on the way to Cedar Sinai in Miami. I was laying in the back of my car, or his car, and my peripheral would kind of come in and out.
Yeah.
And I was still conscious, and I was just, pale and looking up at my wife, and my wife's crying, and she's looking down at me, and I remember thinking, this is the most selfish moment of my fucking life. I felt so selfish. I remember thinking that my poor wife barely even knows my mom. I don't even think they've met yet. She just knows of her, and she's gonna have to call my mom and tell her that her son died of a drug overdose.
Fuck, man, it's heavy, man.
That's all I could think about. Like,
That's
I just
heavy.
had to put the love of my life that I just met the one.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to put her through this. And you know,
That
my
speaks
friend.
volumes about you guys are together and got married after that. It's amazing, man.
Yeah, right.
Fucking awesome.
And my friend Mark is just kind of, blasting through a light. He said he blasted through a red light and a cop was on the alternate side, and he just looked and he said he didn't chase after him.
Weird.
I think he knew exactly where we were going.
That's fucking crazy.
So they took me right in, man. Obviously, that goes without saying. They busted me right through. They put me on a bed. They immediately started poking me, and putting things in my arm. They asked me if I was on any drugs, and I said I've been taking cocaine. And actually, I didn't say it at first. They said, if you don't tell me you're taking cocaine and you have cocaine in you, this drug I'm about to give you is going to kill you. And I went,
Oh, shit.
yes, I've taken cocaine.
Damn.
And so they gave me other drugs, and they came in, and after they had kind of stabilized me somewhat, they gave me a big, huge shot of Ativan. And I asked her, because I remember going, oh my God. I just felt like totally comfortable with dying if it happened right there.
Yeah.
And I go, what was that? And she's all Ativan, and she's looking at the monitor. And I go, are you trying to rule out panic attack? And she goes, yeah. And I'm looking at the monitor. We're both looking at the monitor. And I go, it's not a panic attack. Huh? And she's all, nope. So, but you're going to be okay. I'm like, okay. And they were really mean. They treated me like a fucking drug addict.
Yeah.
What do you...
So they're really mean.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
except for
cold.
this one guy, he was, I think he was like doing his residency there, like a younger guy. And he comes in, he was really cool. And he explained a lot. He explained why they want to hold me overnight. That they want to monitor my enzymes every hour. They monitor it, and they do a test, and they see how much damage I've done to my heart. Because when you have a cardiac arrest, pieces of your heart die.
Oh, fuck.
And they don't come back. You
Scary.
injure the muscle. It's a
Yeah.
very important muscle. And
Yeah.
I understood, and I go, well, I don't really want that because I have insurance, but it's not amazing insurance. And I'm sure the hospital bill right now is about $20,000.
Exactly.
I've been here for 8 hours. And he goes, well, I can't let you go. I can't recommend you to leave, but you can leave if you want to
Take
leave.
yourself out, yeah.
And so I signed myself out, and they weren't allowed to pull the IV out. So I had to actually pull that slithery little catheter thing
Fuck,
out
man.
and patch myself up. And I walked out all frail, and the sun was beating on me, and I felt like a vampire walking out into the sun. And I sat on the curb and waited for Mark to come get me. He was, still out doing work or whatever. And I
Yeah.
sat there with my wife. Well, now it was my wife, and I remember I remember saying to myself, because I'm not really religious, I'm agnostic. I don't believe one way or the other.
Yeah.
I remember thinking man, to any powers out there, to the forces of nature,
Yeah.
to God, if there is one. If I get through this, if I live through this, I swear I'll never touch this stuff again.
Damn.
And I broke that promise. I screwed up 3 times after that over a period of 3 months. Because, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I was seeking help, but hey, man, what I mean? It's a
You're only
really
human.
hard thing to do. I'm
Yeah.
human. And I had 3 screw ups after that. They weren't bad, just like little things. And then I stopped. And 2 nights before I got married at the courthouse in Honolulu, my friends came over, and they didn't know what I was struggling with. I wasn't going out telling people,
Yeah.
I'm really trying to not, get
Yeah.
high anymore. They all came over, and we partied at my house in Hawaii when I was living there before I got married. And I screwed up.
Yeah.
And then so the next day after that is the first day that that I consider, this is when I'm going to start.
Yeah.
And that's still my sober date.
Wow. What is that? What year is that?
A day before my anniversary.
It's crazy, man.
It's 10 years ago, dude. Well, my anniversary is the
amazing.
27th of next month. Yeah.
Wow, man. 10 years. That's awesome, man.
Next month, man, it'll be 10 years that I've been married and that I been sober, having a drink or a drug.
It's amazing, man.
And I've had, dude, it's been hard. There hasn't been easy times.
Sure, it's a struggle.
But, oh, man, my life is so much better without drugs and alcohol in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible, man.
But it didn't really
And then
affect-
there's guys, there's guys that hit me up and be like, man, I'm only like 3 months in and I really just want what you have and I wish I was where you're at. And I tell them, I say, hey, man, if I could give you what I have right now, I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to give you what I have right now because it's amazing. My life
Yeah.
is so amazing now, but I would not want to rob you of the journey.
Yeah.
And they get stoked. It gives them like that hope of like,
Yeah.
okay, the journey is going to be okay too, and
Yeah.
and it's hard. I mean, dude, that first month that I was sober felt like a year.
I'm sure,
the
man.
first year felt like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then every year after that has just flown by,
Yeah. That's amazing. But it didn't really affect you as like a tattoo artist and your success and
Well, no,
the respect
'cause-
people have for your art and everything.
Well, because, and this is not in promotion of drugs and alcohol, but they took me to places spiritually, emotionally, and mentally that I couldn't get to any other way.
Yeah.
And for an artist, it's very alluring. It's very attractive.
Yeah.
But now being sober in my head and being clear minded
Yeah.
and dealing with a lot of stuff, like dealing with my dad's death after I got sober, dealing with all these things that I just swept under the rug for so
you're
many
running
years.
from, yeah.
Yeah. Now I get to places spiritually, mentally, and emotionally in my mind that there's no way I could get to when I was loaded. And I have just as much inspiration now, if not more, being sober than I did when I was loaded.
Yeah.
And
Being a father, your
all of
husband.
it, man.
Yeah.
Because people always say, "Where does your inspiration come from?" I fucking
Yeah.
hate that question. I hope you didn't have it written down
Nah,
on there and I
nope.
offended you.
Nope, it's not on here at all.
But man, artists get asked that so much, and I'm
I
like,
know.
"What do you mean? Life,
Total
life,
experiences,
man.
yeah, experiences.
The highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Nothing in between. There's nothing in between that's gonna give you inspiration. You're not gonna wake up and be like, "Well, I feel mediocre today.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired."
It's
You're
true.
you're tortured or you're super happy, and that's why a lot of artists, like great artists, ended up being like they found out later, or they found out during the time that they were bipolar or manic or whatever.
Yeah.
They had these issues because that was the only way for them to calm the demons,
Yeah.
or to when you're happy, you're inspired.
Yeah.
When you're depressed, sometimes you're not inspired, but I don't know, man. It's very it's strange. It's hard to describe. Mm-hmm. But now I'm just as inspired as ever, man, and I still paint when I can.
Yeah.
I love to tattoo. I love it just as much today as I did when I got that first machine from Rick
Yeah.
Walters and went home and started tattooing people.
Yeah.
It's just
That's amazing, man.
It's just as magical for me. Things have changed.
Yeah.
And guys complain about them. Dudes sit and they moan about it and they whine about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what do you think? It's just going to be that way forever?
Yeah. Everything changes. Music industry,
it's
everything.
It's the equivalent of Al Bundy laying on the couch with his hand in his pants talking about his high school football years. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not going to be the same. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can stop being addicted to that struggle and move on, or you could just stay in it for the rest of your life. I just choose to just take, to roll with it.
Yeah.
And to enjoy all the new things that come in. There's some stuff that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
That come into tattooing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's,
Same thing with music.
same thing with music.
Yeah.
I equate a lot of it to how, I honestly, like with music, I equate a lot of it to tattooing. I'm like, man, this is how they must feel.
Yeah.
Because there's no more soundboards. And there's no...
Yeah, it's true.
You don't need...
true.
People are creating number one hits from their bedrooms.
On their phones, everything.
On their
Yeah.
phones,
Yeah, man.
on a little laptop that they can do in a Starbucks. Like,
That's
I
true.
created this number one hit in Starbucks on my
That's
spare
true.
time. It's insane,
true. Yeah.
And there's people out there that are tattooing with these crazy little pens that they buy from a corporate company. Like, there's this corporation called the Nexus Brand Corp, and they're literally
Nexus.
trying to buy up every tattoo supply company there is. And then,
Nexus doesn't make the Tegaderm?
no, that's 3M.
Okay, we'll talk about that too. I'm going to get that, yeah.
Yeah, but but I mean, so there's these people that have no idea. They don't even know. They think Ed Hardy's a clothing brand. There's tattoo artists out there. I swear to you, there is. There's tattoo artists out there that don't even know Ed Hardy's a real person and they're making tattoos. This is the type. That's the side of tattooing that I don't like. But I'm not going to dwell on it and be angry about it. I'm just going to do my best to educate younger people on what's going on and where I came from.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily make it right. It doesn't mean that I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that's your path. This is my path. Would you like to hear about my path? Because I think it's cool, and you might too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this brings me to one of my questions was, you on Miami Ink., which was a pretty big show, and I feel as a person who collects tattoos that it did positive and negative things for tattooing. Like
totally,
it made people not think I'm a scumbag piece of shit because I have tattoos. And actually I'm not. I'm totally opposite of that. It made it more acceptable.
Yes,
my FedEx.
It brought good tattoos into a town in the Midwest, right into a television set where normally they'd be like, I didn't even know this could be done.
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But it did promote every kid out there who watched that show and fell in love with it and saw it and was like, I want a tattoo.
I can do that.
Yeah. And a glorified tattooing, because it's not a glorious business.
Yeah.
And people think it is because they watch the TV shows. They think there's so much glory in this. And
not every tattoo has a fucking story behind it.
No, not
you
every
just get a
tattoo.
random tattoo if you want to get a random tattoo.
Yeah. I have Homer Simpson. I have a little Homer Simpson on my arm, wedged in between two. There's no great meaning behind that.
Yeah.
Homer Simpson didn't change my life.
I know.
But I have a portrait of my father over my chest. That's an important one. I have one that my wife did right there. It says, I love you.
Sick.
Yeah. That's probably my most important tattoo next to the scribble that my kid did on my leg.
One of those two,
Yeah, but
so you were on. That was a pretty big show. I remember I was on there once. Got tattooed by Garva. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
It was cool. It was just a cool.
Me too. I was on it before. I was on it getting tattooed before I was actually a tattooer on the show.
So I think that changed everything as far as making acceptable. Like the dude at my Trader Joe's has his eyelids tattoo. He has his neck tattoo. My FedEx guy has a neck tattoo.
Yeah.
That shit would never happen.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
It's an interesting thing being heavily tattooed because you are discriminated against, but at the same time, we kind of did this to ourselves.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
know, to not fit in and kind of be.
We weren't born with our tattoos on us. You know what I mean? So, but it is discriminatory to look at someone and to label them for judging the book by its cover.
Especially in Cali, discriminatory. LA,
yeah, totally.
Police have fucked me several times.
Yeah. Totally. I've been pulled over and had the guy shine his flashlight in my arms and then say, you on parole or probation or anything? And I go, no. Do you ask everyone that question?
Yeah.
So of course I do. And I just laugh. No, you don't. You don't ask a soccer mom that question.
When I first moved from New York, I got pulled over with my wife. They're like, where you from, Holmes? And they put a flashlight in my eyes. Why your pupils dilated? I said, because you have a flashlight in my eye, officer. I gave him my New York ID. Moon's right there. She's like, do you know this man? He's like, yeah, it's my husband. He's like, what set you from, Holmes? I said, I'm from New York, man. It's like, that's not.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. It's gotten better. It's gotten better, and that is nice.
Was that fun down in Miami? Because you guys
were on the
cup
of
something. Yeah.
It was a fucking blast.
And you said you were partying in Miami, so you must have been partying while you're on the show.
Dude, I'll be honest. I'll be honest, man. I had more fun because I can say this and not have my wife, be like, well, how's that make me feel? Because we've had to talk about it. Because I had more fun than I've ever had in my entire life when I lived in Miami and was filming for that show.
Wow.
But I have more joy, happiness and joy and just sheer amazingness in my life now.
Yeah.
But as far as raw, unadulterated, shallow, just surface level fun.
Yeah.
Man, dude, we'd work and make a glorious amount of money every day. I'd have enough money to go out, on a good day, go out after work at midnight, eat at Nobu, and then go get bottle service at a club, maybe get another bottle, buy, a gram or two of cocaine, get a bindle of heroin, and
you living that life, man.
Yeah, live the life and wake up and, on the 13th floor of my apartment or whatever, and near the shores and overlook all of South Beach and do it all over again every single day and still have my rent paid before the week's even over. It was
how many years?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
you know, and we were the kings of the city.
You were, man.
We had the keys to everything. Everyone loved that show. It was like a phenomenon. Then in Miami, it's its own little country almost in there.
Yeah.
Miami Beach. So we just had the keys to the city. We could walk into any club. I mean, it didn't matter. Do you know how hard it is to walk into some of those clubs in Miami and not have a bunch of girls with you to get you into the club?
True.
We were just like 5 dudes walking right in, all scumbagged out with tattoos everywhere and just, you know, T-shirts that looked like they were stretched out in the collar, looked like we all been into a fight already. And we're just like, hey. The only thing they wouldn't allow was like shorts. Like I remember Morgan one time had to go and just threw his pair of shorts away and bought a pair of pants while walking to a club so he could get in the club.
Yeah.
But we could just walk right in to anywhere. You know, I mean,
That's amazing,
It was
man.
so much fun.
How many years was that for you?
I don't know, man, how long it lasted. Hell, it probably lasted, like the height of it, the peak of it probably lasted about 2 to 4 years.
It changed so much, though.
It changed, you know what, man? It changed tattooing. I think it changed tattooing permanently.
Yeah.
You know, and
Did you catch flack?
a lot of people didn't like that. Yeah, I got flack for that.
Yeah, but you were still yourself on the show.
I never changed anything. I never gave away any tattoo secrets. And in fact, that was an agreement. It might have even been a written down agreement because the guys wrote a lot of that stuff down and got the contract settled before I came on later.
Yeah.
But they weren't allowed to film or show any tattoo secrets. So like one time I had to do a little thing with the needle that it's like one of our little secrets, and we make a needle a certain thing. And when they came over to film me, and I went, "Oh, this is a tattoo secret," and they went, "Oh, okay," and they just turned around and walked away. So all the filmers, all the audio guys, everyone knew on set that they were never they were never allowed to reveal tattoo secrets. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
yeah.
So I mean, like, what did we really do wrong besides promote to some kids? You know what I mean? That they wanted to tattoo. You know, it made them want a tattoo. They're going to see a tattoo. If these kids really want a tattoo that hard, they're going to see a tattoo somewhere and do it anyways.
No matter what.
But like what did I do? Like, I was still myself.
Yeah.
I did good tattoos. I showed the world that, you know what I mean? You can, good tattoos can be done, you know?
Yeah.
And it was, what I liked about Miami Ink., which wasn't this way on the other shows, was it was just ordinary people with extraordinary stories.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, man. And people wanted to hear the stories. They didn't really care so much about us as much as they did about hearing these really neat stories.
Yeah.
And then the tattoos that were connected with them.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And not every tattoo has a story, but these ones did, And then, they would always try to be like, well, we got to get the one, there's always the sad one.
Yeah.
The music comes down.
Yeah. Those
And
are heavy, man.
And I those were hard, man, because you're when you're next to somebody and you're touching them and you're talking to them and you're doing this tattoo for them, you start becoming connected with them,
Yeah.
And you feel what they're going through, and you have to take that home with you.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to tattoo a lot on the show. It was a lot of hurry up and wait, and there was a lot of guys tattooing. You could only film so many tattoos at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, you tattoo twice a week, 2-3 times a week. And every once in a while you get one of those ones,
Yeah.
Those like, oh, this is going to be a gnarly one.
And you met your wife out there during the show?
No, I met my wife, dude. I met my wife when she was 19 in Hawaii.
Oh, shit.
Years before we started really hanging out.
Okay, before you were living there.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
wow.
broken up with my ex-girlfriend. I broke up with her for a little while, like a month or two. I went out to Hawaii to surf, what I always do in the winter. And I met my wife. And it was funny, man. My friend, who I'm still really good friends with, we both are. He kind of liked her a little bit, or expressed a little bit like, oh, I'm kind of into her. She's cool. And they all came over and we all hung out. And then I hit him up and I said, like a week later or something, or a few days later, I'm like, hey, did you ever tell that girl? Or did you ever like try to make a move on that girl? Whatever. He's all, no, bro, she's into you. And I'm like, what?
Shit.
I guess she told her friend that she kind of liked me. And I was like, oh, well, man, hey, I don't, and he's all, no, you should hang, he's not a hater, this dude.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you should hang out with her. She's really cool, man. Like, I think you should try to hang out with her. I'm all, really? He's all, yeah. So he kind of, hooked us up, and we hung out a little bit while I was out there, and I liked her. I thought she was cool.
That's
and
awesome.
I went back to Cali and I hooked up, I got back with my ex-girlfriend. And I got back with her for another 4.5 years.
Oh, shit.
And I would stay in touch with my wife, here and there, you know, like on MySpace or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after I broke up with my ex, about a year later, she hit me up. Maybe it was earlier than that, and she said, "Hey, I'm moving back out to the North Shore from." She was living in San Francisco at the time.
Yeah.
Did you want to hang out, or move back out to Hawaii? Do you want to hang out this winter? Are you going out there? And I said, yeah. So we started hanging out.
That's awesome,
dude. I hung out with her December 10th. I mean, I told her I loved her like 2 weeks later. She's told me the same. About a month or two later, I bought a ring. I proposed a month after that in Italy. During, we went for a convention. It was in Milan. Man. I took her to this little square in Milan over by the church, and I proposed to her in Milan and on Valentine's Day. And then 2 months later, we were married at the courthouse in Honolulu, and we've been married 10 years. Yeah, I can't imagine my life without her, man.
Yeah, man, that's an awesome story.
Yeah,
10 years sober, 10 years married.
I can't believe she stayed with me for 10 years. Do you ever think that? Do you ever think like
it's crazy?
I'm crazy, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm such a work in progress, and I have all these things. I'm definitely getting sober. I took a really good look at a lot of my faults and my shortcomings, and all these people I had apologized to, and like I made amends to a ton of people, and I'm like, I can't believe there's this broken, just you know what I mean, like crazy person that I am, that she loves me and wants to be with me for that long, And
how did it become a dad change your life?
Oh, man, dude, I never wanted to have kids.
I remember talking to you about it.
Yeah, remember this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell it to anyone who's listening, but
I remember that.
I didn't want to get married, own a house, or have kids. I wanted to be like a Rolling Stone my entire life.
Yeah.
And, I met my wife. What can you do? You meet this one, and you're like, I'm convinced. I've never been more sure of anything. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. So I married her, and then, she wants to have kids, and I'm like, oh. Dude, she talked to me about this in London. We were just in Amsterdam. I was working for Hank Schiffmacher. And then we were in London, and we were in the room, and she said, well, I want to have a talk. And when she said this, I'm like, oh, shit. Because she doesn't.
It's scary when they say that.
Yeah, I get
like that.
Dude, it's like worse than about to get into a fight with someone, like, oh. So she said, she wanted to have a kid, and she's just something she wants. And she got me to agree to stop preventing. I was like, okay, let's stop preventing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Dude, we got back to the States, and like a week later, she just walks up to me and shows me that she was pregnant when we had the conversation. Neither one of us knew.
Oh my God, man.
She got pregnant in Vegas when we went out there for like a trade show thing for Hurley. And we got a room with a Venetian, and she got pregnant there.
Wow, man.
So she showed me the stick, and I looked at it and went, huh. And she just sat there, and she just walked off, and we didn't talk about it for like 2 days.
No reaction?
Dude, I was just like, in mourning. As crazy as it sounds, I was
scared?
Bro, I was so bummed about it. I felt like my life was over.
Wow.
I was scared, but scared in a way where...
And that must have made her feel something too.
Yeah. I tried, dude. I mean, we talked about it, and I tried to hide that through the whole pregnancy, but she could feel it. I mean, I was scared in a sense where like this. Dude, there's only two things that you can never change in life. Like, I got sober, and I hurt a lot of people when I was loaded.
Yeah.
And I got to apologize to those people. I got to make amends with them. There's some that I can't, like, dude, I don't remember what car I broke into or what house I did.
Yeah.
I broke into and stole a bunch of stuff and left. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm kind of glad that my memory, I don't even want to get hypnotized because I might remember stuff and then have to make amends. But, I got to make those amends. But, dude, there's only two things that you can never change once they're done. You can never take them back in life. There's only two. You can never change it. And that's if you take someone's life or if you create someone's life.
Good point.
And I treated it as if I was about to kill someone. Damn. Because I could never take that back, dude. What was done was done.
Yeah.
Once, you know what I mean? Like, and it was kind of too late. Like, I'm not going to tell my wife to have an abortion. You know what I mean? Like, this is really. I knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is like killing someone. I can never take this back, and I have to take responsibility for it after it's done because I'm not the man that's going to run from anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude. And then these people were going, "Oh man, it's going to be great. Don't worry. You're going to love it." It's like that's like you have this car. because my life was great before this. So I have this car, and I love this. This car's perfect. Most of my friends, a car obviously being a metaphor for life. Most of my friends, man, they fuck their cars up. Their cars are like peg legging around. They're only running on a few cylinders left, and I'm like, man, they fucked that car up. And my car was good. I loved my car. My car was great. And I worked hard on that car. And someone comes up and says, sorry, man, I'm just stronger than you, and I'm taking your car. And I'm giving you a new car. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, man, I like my car. My car's fine. They're like, sorry. There's nothing we can do about this. You're getting a new car, but trust me, you're going to love it. And you go, okay, well, let me test drive it. Nope. You don't get to test drive it, see it, know anything about it.
Nothing.
You're just going to have to trust us that you're going to love it. Yeah. And you're like, dude, what the fuck,
so scary, man. Yeah.
I don't want to change. So, man, I was that way all the way up until the day of his birth.
Wow.
And I was even like, when she got taken away, my wife had to have a cesarean. His head was way too big. His hips never, her hips never kind of widened and opened up. He was like a week late. So they take her, they wheel her away, and I'm sitting there in the room. And I had a lot of time to think because they forgot to come get me. They already started cutting her open and were halfway done with it when they ran in and got because my wife looked at the anesthesiologist and goes, "Excuse me, can I hold your hand?" And she goes, "Yes, of course. Where's the husband?" And the nurse went, "Oh," and she ran out and grabbed me.
Oh shit!
But while I was in that room, I was like, I can't believe this. My life is over. My life is over. Mm-hmm. And they brought me. It's so funny to say, man. But you know what? I think a lot of dads need to hear this story. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And they brought me in the room, and I'm sitting there. I'm holding. I could see right when I walked in. I was smiling. I had my film camera. I had this old Nikon around my thing. I'm going to take some photos. And I look around, and everyone's real serious. This is not like the happy moment I saw on TV. Yeah. And I just instantly threw my camera behind me. On the thing, just whipped it behind me, and I ran over. I sat down on the chair, and I grabbed my wife's hand, and I said, "I'm right here," because she looked scared. Yes. And she was being jerked around the table. Cesareans are pretty violent. A whole childbirth itself is violent in some ways.
Yeah.
And then, man, that baby, I could hear, them bring the baby out, and this is like a sucker thing or whatever. And then I just heard him crying.
I started bawling.
And they dropped down the thing, and I cried like a baby.
Me too, man.
I just started crying
right now thinking about it because I cried all night that night, dude.
Dude, it was crazy. I stayed up with him all night. My wife was so beat, she just fell asleep.
Me too.
And I just sat there all night. I laid there with him, and I propped him up because they can't sleep. They're supposed to be playing at night.
I know.
And I had his little mittens on so he wouldn't scratch his face.
Yeah.
And I kept him from crying. And then I took his mitten off, and I put his hand in his mouth so he could suck on his hand. And I remember the whole thing, man. Everything. Yeah. The whole thing. And it changed my life. Instantly.
It does. Oh, like within 24 hours, man.
So I always tell people, and this is the best way I can describe it, is the greatest thing that I never knew I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredible.
You know what else people have to understand too? That you don't have to adapt to their life. They adapt to your life. Like life isn't over. Life's just beginning, but your kids adapt to your lifestyle. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like you don't lose everything.
Yeah, you don't. And you know what? The things that I lost, I don't care. Yeah. I really don't care, man. Yeah. I love my routine in the morning, and I love waking up, and I quit coffee because it gave me such bad anxiety. But
wow.
I'll get into that. But
you have 2 kids though now. So
I have 2 kids, and I love waking up, and I make my tea, man. I make my Earl Grey in the morning, and I cook my kids breakfast, or I just make them some cereal, and I make them like a little shake. I have this like organic shake so I can get them some some greens and some things in the morning, and I shake it up and I give it to both of them, and then I walk my kid to school every single day, and then I come back and I handle some business, or I build machines, or I do whatever, and then most of the days, 9 times out of 10, I pick my kid up too, and I go down the park, and there's a little park near the school, and the moms are down there, and I know all the moms, and I'm sitting there, and that way I give my wife a break from 2 kids.
Sure.
And I do it, man. I do the dad life, and I love it. But it doesn't change, man. I still go to tattoo conventions. Yeah. And my kid's going to grow up. He's going to grow up in a very unique life, just like your kid.
Totally.
He's going to grow up with a bunch of tattooed people around him. He's going to grow up in a tattoo shop. This sounds bad, and some parents may not agree, but I really don't care. But my kid, he's 4.5. He's a very smart kid, man. He learned to talk really early. He's like your kid. He's just ahead of his time.
Yeah. Thank you.
And he asked me something the other day, and he asked me again in the car. But he asked me what badass was, and he goes, he's 4.5. He's like, "Hey, Dad, what's badass?" And I go, "Well, it means that something's like really cool." He must have heard me say it, It's something like really cool. It's a way of expressing like, oh man, that's badass. Like a really cool car that you see, Trip. Or like, and he says, okay. And then he wants to know, this is when the second time he asked when my wife was in the car. And it's really cool is we both really agree on a lot of parenting. And we discuss it. And, which is very important.
It's very important.
And he asked if he can say that. And I go, well, and my wife's like, and I go, you know what, Trip? I'll tell you what. You can only say it at home and at the tattoo shop. So if you see Uncle Javi doing a really cool painting, or Uncle Bill or Uncle Bucky, and Uncle thing's a Hawaiian thing,
Totally,
everyone's uncles and aunties.
Same with Max too.
Yeah. I say, if you see Uncle Bill like making a cool painting and you like it, and he says, "What do you think, Trip?" You can say, "That's badass," And he's like, "Okay." And he's such a smart kid. He goes, Why am I only allowed to say it at the shop or at home?" And you know what? I looked at my wife and I just went for the honest approach. I said, honestly, Trip, because people probably think I'm a bad parent.
100%. If you're saying that at school, where'd you get that from your dad?
Yeah. My dad told me I could say it.
Yeah.
But,
we had stuff like that too, man.
Yeah,
like,
and I think my way of teaching him about the world and not sheltering him, but not exposing him might differ from other parents.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's just, hey man, that's the way I raised my kid. And
Exactly.
he's gonna back to what we were saying, he's gonna grow up in a very unique environment. 100%. And it doesn't change my life because, man, when my kids are old enough, they're gonna go to tattoo conventions, and you bet your ass they're gonna be working my booth for me and earning their trip out to London or their trip to Germany. Yeah. And through tattooing, they're gonna have so many people.
Yeah,
so
and
many
see the
people all over the world.
too.
Yeah, man, I remember my plane was going to be stuck in Dallas one time. I was coming back. I was like, are you serious? I'm going to be stuck here for a day from a storm? Unfortunately, I made it out, but I remember thinking, it just went all through my head that, man, it doesn't matter what city I'm stuck in. There's so many people I can call up and just be like, hey, man, can I stay at your house? Or do you know anyone here? And even if they don't know me, if I'm some weird, crazy spot, they'll be, I have a friend there. I'll call him up. Yeah. And they'll accommodate me, put me up in the place. And my kid gets to have that. He gets to have this family all over the world that's going to help him out, whether they're musicians or 100%. Tattoo artists or professional skateboarders or professional surfer. Yeah. And that's very unique. I love how all these subcultures are all tied in.
Me too.
So my life really didn't change that much. It changed for the better. And his life is going to be amazing because of the choices that I made. Yeah. Coming, before he was born, and the friends that I've made,
100%. It's funny because two things. One is that my son thought that everybody had tattoos because that's all he saw as a young kid. Totally. So anybody else without tattoos, that's kind of weird, you know? Yeah. That, and I was going to tell you something else about surrounded by people like that. I mean, I don't know, my son's so open-minded from traveling around the world too. It's cool.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because my kid feels the same way. Everybody has tattoos. And now that I started, my coworker and I, Javi, we started making temporary tattoos for kids. So now they're always tattooed, and their friends are because they're giving these tattoos away to their friends. Cool. Yeah, my son's almost at the age, I think, like maybe in a year, I'm going to take him to a convention. And I'm going to set up a little booth next to my booth, like a little station where he can sit there and wait for customers. And he can sell temporary tattoos and put them on kids. That's his cool, age, man. And parents with kids. And he actually lays them on and tells them how to care for it and then has them leave. That's cool. And I think that'd be like amazing if he wants to.
It's amazing. Man. It's amazing to just like not to, I don't know, I feel like I'm not, my son's a vegetarian, never had meat his whole entire life. Yeah. That's because he grew up around it, but if he wants to eat meat, he can eat meat. He's not pressured to do that, but he knows where it comes from, all that. You know what I mean? Just like try to lead by example and try to inspire them because we have to be role models, man. Otherwise, you're going to find role models somewhere else. Yeah. With some people you might not like,
And that's the way I look at it, man. Like I said, I'm not religious, but Me either. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't cheat on my wife. I'm a good father to my kids. I provide, I pay my taxes. You know what I mean? Like, I just try to lead by example.
100%.
And that's the best. I think that's the best way. I can't tell him something and then not abide by that. True. And
it's really true, man. Yeah, you should check yourself too, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all the decisions I make now, I'm like, man, how are my kids going to view this decision that I made? Is this something that I want them, to look at? And so it's changed me a lot. I've allowed it to.
Do you feel like you're, for me, I feel because I had my brothers on my podcast. We're really emotional since my dad died. We had no closure. Like my
Yeah.
dad went to the hospital and never came back. We never saw him again. Never went to the funeral. All 3 boys never seen our dad again. And now we're all dads. So I feel like I don't know if it's a dad thing, but we're so emotional being dads. Like those TV commercials with the dads and anything where a parent is dying.
Dude, me
fucks
too.
me up so much, man.
So bad, bro. I watched Field of Dreams. I can't even watch the
yeah.
end of Field of Dreams. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
start crying like a baby, dude.
It's crazy.
Or that movie, The War. Did you see the one with Elijah Wood, The War?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Dude.
Were you emotional before becoming a dad? Emotional person?
So when I got sober, I got a little bit more emotional.
Okay.
And I remember being like, what is this? What are these feelings? I just basically got normal, but I got way more emotional after becoming a dad. And I think definitely that has to do with that. Like, because I don't really have a lot of fear in me. I don't live in fear and I don't have a lot of fear. And now I have fears. After becoming a father, I have fears.
too.
Because I'm not afraid to die. Even in the moments of death, I just hope that there's someone that I love around me.
Yeah.
I mean, it would obviously be amazing if it would be my family.
Yeah.
But if it's not, hopefully it's some of my friends and they're comforting me while I die. Hopefully it's even faster. I don't even feel it. You know what I
But
mean?
isn't it weird when you get older and you have kids, you see their ending?
Yes.
Not to be morbid. I'm 48 and it's like my son just turned 16. I want to be here forever and just watch him grow and get married and have kids, all that.
Totally.
But I don't know what's going to happen. It's just, but you can see, holy shit, I lived half my life already.
So I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid to die before my kids are ready to take on the world without a father.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know what I mean by that, because obviously
Yeah.
they're never really ready to live without a father, you know.
I know.
But especially not if they're close. Like, and those are my fears. I'm afeared. I fear that my children will die before me. You know, I fear like, dude, there's so many things.
Heavy, man.
So I do things like I have 2 life insurance policies. I have a life insurance policy for my wife. I have like, you know, I do these things because I'm like, dude, I want to leave as much behind for them as possible when I'm gone.
It's crazy. Everything changes,
to
man.
affect their life in a positive way.
You know what else is crazy too is like being with your wife, not having any kids, and get to travel with your wife, have alone time with your wife, all this stuff. And then you're in the hospital. Then she becomes a mom that night, and then the next day, all of a sudden, you see your like wife breastfeeding. All of a sudden, these maternal instincts kick in. She becomes a mom. It's crazy to see that transition. It's crazy because you never seen your wife like that.
Yeah, 100,000 years of evolution kicks in.
But it's just like that whole transformation. Like, holy shit, she's an amazing mom. Like 24 hours.
You know what, man? Okay, so I was working. I worked with this guy Chuko. He worked at the shop
great
for a while.
tattoo artist.
Yeah. He's left. He's gone on to greater things, and we're super bummed that he's gone. You know.
Yeah.
But while I was working with him, we worked next to each other. And I remember one time I go, "Hey man, can I ask you a question?" Because he knew. He's got a great story too about like his love for his wife and his life. I mean, his life is incredible, but his love story with his wife is awesome. He met his wife when she was 12 years old, and he was like a young teenager too. And he said right then and there he knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with that woman.
Holy shit!
It's amazing, dude. But I
shit.
told him, I said, hey man. Before I had kids, all these people in my life would tell me, hey, watch out when you have kids. You got to like really work hard at it, and you end up becoming roommates. And I've seen a lot of people after they have kids that ruin their relationship, and they're co-parenting and they're doing a good job and they're friends now, but they're just not in love anymore. And I say, man, did you ever feel that way about Amber? And he just kind of looks at me funny. He's waiting for me to finish, and I go, because honestly, bro, I don't feel that way at all about I don't feel that way at all about my wife. In fact, I feel like I'm more in love with her, and I have a deeper appreciation for her now, like a respect for her as a woman, and
Mother,
I'm like, dude, I'm more in love with my wife than ever. And he was like, he just laughed and goes, I feel the same way, brother. He's all,
it's awesome.
And I mean, not that I'm trying to shame people for maybe they weren't in the right relationship to begin with or anything like that. This is just me as I'm telling my story, but yeah, man, I'm like, it just gave me, it brought us into a whole nother deeper level of like family and being together and being connected, my wife and I.
Yeah. And
it sounds corny, and it's like, it sounds corny. I don't care. Fight me.
And you have 2 kids too, so you always make time. You can always make time.
Yeah,
hang
man.
out.
Yeah, and you know what?
But it's a different connection, though, for sure. A different bond.
Time spent with your kids is not wasted.
I know.
The most common thing that people say on their deathbed is that they wish they would have spent more time with their family. You know what I mean? And no one's on their deathbed going, I should have made more money. I should have worked harder.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone saying, I wish I would have worked harder as they're dying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I always try to remember that. You know, that time spent with my family is never a wasted moment.
Yeah.
And I've learned to let go because I got issues with workaholic issues. And I get anxiety when I'm not getting things done.
Yeah, you grind hard, man. You're nonstop.
Yeah, and I've learned to let that go and just be like, hey, set the phone down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, put it on the charger and leave and take the kids to the park and just not even think about it and just spend time with them.
Feels
Focus
good
on
to do
that.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
It's hard to disconnect, man.
It's hard, especially for guys like us because we're working. We don't have a 9 to 5,
so
we're
you're
always
running a business on that phone. You're making money off that phone. You're setting up your life on that phone.
Yeah, totally.
It's hard, man. It's really.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I have a gift for you guys too. So
Okay,
remind me
Thank you.
before I leave.
Okay.
And we'll walk out to my car and I got to give you something. Okay.
I have two more things to talk to you about.
Yeah.
The other one is you had crazy back surgery.
Yes.
And because of you, and Luke Westman ended up getting, and because of that, we connected a friend of mine in New Jersey, Matty Boy.
Oh, yeah. How's he doing, dude? I haven't texted
talked
him
to
a
him
little
about it.
bit.
I heard it went well and he got it done. But
yeah.
So obviously, in the jobs we both have, there's no retirement plan, there's no 401k. I barely have any medical insurance. That's my own fault. But no, you do what you love because you do it. But obviously, you get hurt on the job.
Yes.
And so a lot of tattooers, either their eyes are getting bad from squinting a lot. A lot of my friends wear glasses now, or they fuck their backs up. So what happened to you? Was that from tattooing or no?
So yes and no. So I screwed up my back. I herniated a disc originally from, I always had like back issues. It's where I hold all my stress.
But you always surfed and skated too, though.
Surfed and skated. So I would injure myself a lot. And I injured myself actually snowboarding was the most I've been injured.
Okay.
I was learning how to do inverted maneuvers.
Sick.
Yeah. I've competed in snowboarding before.
Okay.
So I really was into it and loved it.
Yeah.
And I tried to do a front flip. Now with a back flip, you need a little bit more speed because of the rotation. You know, you're actually going backwards and you need extra speed to get that distance, but also do a flip.
Okay.
With a front flip, you kind of rock it right off and you need less speed. Well, I didn't think about that, the laws of physics. So I just flew right off that landing, like overshot it by 10, 20 feet.
Damn.
And I herniated a disc. And I didn't go to the doctor at the time. I went to a family physician. He said I broke my back too, so I put a crack, like a fracture in it. And he said, "There's nothing you can do. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do your best, get through it." So I just kept tattooing because no one's supporting me but me. I didn't have disability.
Exactly, man.
So I just started working through it, and I never took care of it. So that disc never really healed properly. It dehydrated. Yeah. And it the bulges finally kind of worked themselves out, and I would go through periods where I'd throw my back out here and there.
Yeah.
And then eventually, man, it's degenerative because your lower disc, you have this disc that's deteriorated, it's not doing its job, and the next one above it is taking 200% of the load. It's not like all the discs around it share the load. That one above it is just, or below it, is taking on all the brunt. Mm-hmm. So then it goes. And then the next one, then you're more likely for the next one to go 400%, exponential. So by the time that I finally was just in so much pain, after I got sober, I was like, man, what is going on? I'm kind of in pain all the time.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't numbing it.
Yeah.
And I finally realized, I finally went and got an MRI, and it was like, whoa, this is for real.
Yeah.
I had a doctor tell me, like, prep me for it and just be like, look, I'm going to tell you something. And you're going to have to, this is serious. Something like, because in the United States, how far behind we are with spine surgeries, that's like a death sentence. You know what I mean? That's like, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And he told me yoga and pain management would be my best friend. This, guy. Yeah. So I finally, I just dealt with it, and there was moments, man, like, remember when I told you that one time, I was like, it's easy to be PMA when your whole life is easy, but then when things are bad, that's when you're the test of having a positive mental attitude come into play, and that tested me, man. That really tested me because I've said this before.
You couldn't walk either sometimes, right? Yeah, you're so fucked
Yeah,
up.
there was times where I was just couch ridden. And I say this, man, and I really mean this, that if I didn't have a family, I really would have considered suicide.
Damn.
I just had enough. Because also doctors were telling me there's nothing that could be done. And you're going to have to get surgery after surgery after surgery. So just do your best to try and avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was given no hope. And then I finally found hope. And it wasn't even like a little. It was like, oh, you could be totally fixed. You just got to fly out here and get this surgery. And dude, I thought it was like too good to be true.
Yeah.
I thought it was a scam. I really did. I was doing everything in my power to try to prove this scam. That, you know what I mean? That or prove that it was a scam because I couldn't
believe it.
I couldn't wrap my mind around it. And we're so force-fed propaganda and conditioned here to believe that we have the best medical and we have this and and in the reality with a surgery like the one that I got, dude, the pharmaceutical companies bribe basically. It's a nice way of saying bribing.
Yeah.
They lobby and make sure that the FDA doesn't approve surgeries like mine because if they do, they lose billions of dollars a year in painkillers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The most common
Everybody's
reason,
on pills. Yeah.
Everyone's on pills, dude.
70%
70% of all the opiates done in the entire world are done right here in the United States.
Damn. Yeah.
We make up for every country on earth.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and I was sober then. So I had opiates. Like my wife would monitor it if I ever needed to take them, and I rarely did. I would just take a ton of ibuprofen and stretch and just deal with it. And then every once in a while it was too much, and I was like, I need a half a pill.
Yeah.
And I would take it as prescribed. And so, to kind of remain.
Did that scare you to do that since you were sober?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't want to feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like to feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
So I finally found out about some miracle surgery, and I, like I said, I looked into it, and I just finally said, man, I got to try for this. I have no options.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold my Harley, I sold my truck, and I charged all the rest on credit card.
Wow.
And I did it, and
Germany, right? Yeah.
Germany, yeah. And I went over to Germany. I half expected no one to pick me up from the airport when I got there. I half expected, I was like, they scammed me. You should have seen the look on the banker down at Chase Bank when I told him I needed to wire that much money to Germany. It was $50,000. I'll just be honest. It was $49,000. Luke's was, I think, way less than that.
Yeah.
The euro had dropped and he only got one. I got 3 disc replacements all in one shot.
Damn.
So
Bremen, New Jersey, I think. Bremen, Germany. Yeah,
Bremen, Germany. So a little town outside of Bremen, basically Bremen, but it's called Stenum.
Yeah.
And I went there and they did it, man. They did my surgery and it did it in 2.5 hours. And I was 12 days after surgery. I was sightseeing with my family, holding my kid. And,
that's insane.
I wasn't comfortable. I just got surgery and got a cesarean, basically. So I know what my wife went through.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's gotten better and better and better. I have my times where I'm just like, my legs feel heavier than usual. I have nerve damage from so many years of 3 discs just bulging into different places in my spine. But I'm a 40-year-old man with a spine surgery. But I'll tell you what, man. Since my spine surgery, I've gone on all kinds of surf trips. I surf, I surf. I've just got back from a snowboarding trip from Mammoth where I snowboarded for like 6 to 8 hours, 2 days straight.
Damn.
I trained for and won 2 boxing matches.
Boxing, yeah.
So
it's fucking awesome.
So man, I have my life back.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? If they say they'll last me for the rest of my life, but if something gives or something happens in 10, 20 years, I'll fly back over.
Yeah.
And I'll get fixed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just life, and it just improved my quality of life. And since then, because it saved my life in a way, I spend a lot of time talking to people about it, and I'm on a call list, and when they want to call, people who are getting multiple discs especially.
Ask you how it went and stuff, get advice.
They want to ask me how it went, and I tell them my whole procedure and the the lengthy recovery and what I could do and what I felt like in doing it. It never limited me from anything. It just was, sometimes it was uncomfortable doing things in recovery.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Because I know we went and surprised Luke. We were on tour in Germany, and we found out.
I know, that was so rad.
Pulled up in the tour bus and saw him. That was really cool.
How cool was that hospital? It was cool.
Awesome.
It was trippy,
It looked
right?
like psych from far away. Looked like some old school building, and it was
like
crazy.
an old psych ward, huh?
Yeah, man.
But then you go inside and everything's new and nice. Yeah.
That was pretty amazing, man. The timing of being there that time. But then, then it worked for you and it worked for him, or for Matty Boy, I think.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing you did when I got my wonderful rose tattoo by you on my neck, that's the one that Tim Hendricks did, ladies and gentlemen. You put this stuff in my neck called Tegaderm, and I feel like, and I said it the other day, that I feel like you're the one that brought that into tattooing.
You know what?
Safe to say that or no?
No.
Okay.
So my friend Sean, his name's Sean Buss,
Okay.
and he tattooed out in San Diego. He actually taught Paul Doppelman how to tattoo. And he's an old friend of mine, really good dude. But he's the one who talked to me about it. He's really the one who was like, dude, people need to start using this. They need to start doing it.
Okay.
And, I've seen, there's a lot of things where I said, this is going to be the next big thing. And it was. And one of my machinist friends always goes, man, next time you tell me that, I'm going to listen to you. Because I told him we should start getting into vape pens 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And
it's huge.
I'm all, we need to start making these, making the housing form, making the pieces. You could do
totally
it.
do that, yeah.
And he goes, oh, I don't know, and I also, before bikes got all back in, I was telling him we need to make single, like, cogs and different bicycle parts and all these things. We can make a fortune. And he's like,
damn.
oh, I don't know. So he told me the next big thing, man, I'm listening to you. But anyway, what was
the
that?
Tegaderm
The Tegaderm.
shit.
So anyways, it was the one thing that I screwed up. I was like, you know what? I don't think this is going to be that big. And he's like, really? Because he talked to 3M. He was going to get like my supply name put on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we sold it with our name on it and everything.
Saltwater tattoo.
Yeah, saltwater tattoo. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to catch on. He's all, why? I'm all, honestly, man, because like I could put a bandage on, like, and it cost me $2 or $3 to put this bandage on in Tegaderm, or I could buy a roll of Saran wrap for $2 or $3,
Yeah.
and make 5,000 bandages out of it. And he goes, so you don't think people will be into it? I'm all, I don't think so, man. I mean, I can't stop using it. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't
I love
not
it.
use it anymore. I
it.
rarely lay bandages on without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all, but dude, look at all the guys that I work with. They love it and they'll borrow it from me, but they won't go out and buy it. I just don't think people are going to buy it. And he's like, all right. And we didn't do it. And now everybody and dude, everyone in tattooing is using there's all these different
New
things.
ones now?
There's Tattooderm, there's Sanoderm, there's Tegaderm. There's another one that's like something, cover or what. There's like 5 different brands that are big that are making it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
And
man.
and in reality, Tegaderm was invented by a guy that worked for 3M, and him and his wife actually made Tattooderm. So if you buy Tattooderm,
Okay.
it's actually the exact same stuff as Tegaderm,
Okay.
but made for tattoos.
Gotcha.
And they own the rights. And I think pretty soon they're going to make it so no one else might be allowed to hold it. I'm not sure. They're working on that. But he still owns like a piece of the patent. He's allowed to make it and has rights to it, even though he doesn't work for 3M anymore.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
crazy,
actually
man.
designed the logo for him. They paid me for it. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, but I wanted to be behind it and kind of help them because I believed in it. I believed in the product.
Yeah.
And they're doing it on their own thing. And
So you keep it on your
hopefully it
tattoo
all
for
works
like
out.
4 days, and it gets kind of bloody underneath there and kind of gushy. You can empty it out if you want and drain
Yeah. You know what's really gross is when your body rehydrates all that gush.
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it like dries back out. And you're like, where did it go?
Fucking gross.
Ew,
Yeah.
it went back in me.
And then you peel it off and the tattoo's healed. For me, it's great because I get tattooed on tour, or I like to continue to work. So usually I try not to work out after I get tattooed, but you can work out with it. You can just hike.
Yeah, it's foolproof.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, I
Take a
love
shower
it.
with it.
It makes me like be happy to get tattooed again because
Yeah.
I hated
The
the
ointments
healing.
and shit. Back in the day, Bacitracin, A&D ointment, all that oily shit you put on your tattoos.
Just rubbing germ catcher. Here, let
Yeah.
me rub some of this germ
That's it.
adhesive on my tattoo.
If you put too much of it on, you'd fuck your tattoo
yeah,
up.
and then even though you tell clients, you're like, can you wash your hands before you put the lotion
ain't
on?
doing that
They
shit.
just take this dirty hand where they just put their shoes on with and they rub it on the
Yeah.
tattoo. It's surprising that people don't have more staff.
It
You
is
know?
true, yeah. It is true. Yeah, that's a game changer. I thought you brought it in there, but thank you for showing me that because now I
Yeah,
use it
man.
everywhere. I buy it everywhere. You can buy it. You can buy it anywhere. Any pharmacy.
Yeah, remember you were like texting me, where do I get this stuff? You
Yeah.
bought your own Tegaderm, right?
Yeah,
Didn't you?
pharmacies. You can get it at CVS.
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome. Do you consider yourself an optimist or pessimist?
I consider myself an optimist.
I got that vibe today for sure.
You know what?
You've always been like that. You've been through a lot of shit too.
Yeah, and it's definitely tested. Politics test that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
the world right now.
the world right now tests that. And so, like, like when I vent on Twitter or something like that, and people get angry about it because they believe one way and I may believe another. And so I can see how some people would ask. I even asked my wife the other day. I said, "Hey, do I come off as negative?" when I say stuff like that, and she's like, "No, you come off as
realist.
Yeah, you come off as being serious about this.
Yeah.
You believe in something. You want to make the world a better place for your children." Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know what I mean. So sometimes people will say, people have actually said it to me. They're like, "I don't know, man. That's not very PMA of you," And I go, "Well, you know what, man?
I'm not perfect either, man.
Yeah, I got to stand up for, what am I supposed to do? If I see someone being anti-Semitic, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not going to yell at them because that's very PMA.
I have no PMA for racism or Trump.
Yeah, so if I see somebody, like doing something like that, or if I see something that I don't agree with, somebody like hitting a woman, I'm going to go up. Honestly, I'm going to wrestle that dude to the floor.
Yeah.
And that may not be very PMA and positive, but you know what, dude? I'm sorry.
That's human. You're being a fucking good human.
I hate bullies, and
I hate them too, man.
Yeah. So
you go hard on Twitter?
A little bit. A little bit.
Politics and stuff, or
politics and things like that, and
you into the climate stuff too, right?
Yeah, and some people don't believe in it. They do, and some people do. And you know what? I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like,
if they can't see it where they live, where it's like the winter and it's fucking 60 degrees, or it's snowing in fucking West Hollywood and all this shit.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But you know what? It's like they say, well, they give me their reasoning of why, and I just look at them and this is what I say. I say, but what if it is?
Yeah.
But what if it is real? Because what if it isn't? Well, then nothing changes.
Yeah.
But what if it is?
Yeah.
Then things do dramatically change.
Yeah.
So it's like I just live my life according to how I would, you know what I mean? I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm doing...
You're more tattooing on Instagram, but then on Twitter you go a different way.
Instagram, it's just business.
I like that.
Yeah. I never really get personal on Instagram. I've decided to get a little bit more personal on Instagram, but in a way where, like, I'll post a story of my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's been a few days since my friend Rick died, Rick Walters died.
Yes.
And I haven't posted anything, and
I don't
know if people are looking toward, like, so many people have posted stuff.
I've seen
and
it.
It's hard for me to post stuff like that and to put my feelings out there. And I've texted a lot of people I've thought about that I know it hit them hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how did people deal with death before Instagram?
Totally.
They called each other. They texted each other,
100%.
or they just called and say, "Hey man, how you doing?" And they drove to each other's house. Say, "Hey, I just want to check in on you."
I agree.
Let you know I was thinking about you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That stuff is hard for me to put my life out there like that.
Yeah. It's hard because I'm definitely. Sometimes I'll post something and I'll be thinking with my heart, not my head. I'll put it out there, and then people freak out. But I know in my heart I believe in it and feel good. But people understand that's my page and what I personally believe. Even though it's to the public, I'm making it everybody's business because whoever follows me are going to see it. But I'm trying to vent something, not being preachy. I'm just trying to vent something that bothers me or I'm passionate about. It's hard because then you put yourself out there and people just everybody has an opinion. Everybody wants to protest. Everybody's pissed. Everybody has to say something. It's like, it's hard, man. It's fine line between, I don't know, like.
I asked my mom, dude, she taught government history and stuff like that her whole life. She just retired. I said, man, have you ever seen it this bad? She's like, no.
It's crazy.
It's pretty bad right now.
It is, man. It's hard because I want to not just live in my little PMA bubble and go to hiking and pick up my son, do all my stuff in my crib and just see the world. I have to look at Vice and different channels and look at the news, what's happening. I try to keep, but it gets dark on your phone going down these little fucking rabbit holes.
It does.
Shit going on.
It does.
It's draining, man.
You could log on for 5 minutes and you could, if you let it, could just ruin your day. But the thing is that what I like about it nowadays is that people can't hide anymore.
They cannot.
You can't hide now. You know, if you're an anti-Semite, you can't hide anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're this or that, you can't hide. If you do this, you can't hide.
R. Kelly shit. There's so much shit happening.
Yeah. Bill Cosby, all these things. You know, you can't hide anymore. And I like that people can't hide, that everyone's got a camera, everyone can document everything. Dude. And that's a gnarly animal because there's a whole other side of it. But at the same time, if people are being exposed for their wrongdoings so much easier nowadays, then it changes the world for a better place.
Yeah, people worry about getting yeah.
You
It's
know,
a good point.
So all that information is available, and I think that's nice, and I think that there's, as much as people think that there's so much propaganda out there, there is.
Yeah.
But now we have alternate ways of looking at things and seeing, you can follow people right on the ground. You can see what they're saying rather than a mainstream media telling you this.
It's true.
And then another mainstream media telling you the exact opposite.
I know,
You're being pulled in different ways. And you're like, wait.
It's so confusing, man.
Well, maybe I'll start following these tribal members on the ground when they were trying to put the Dakota, that pipeline, Dakota pipeline thing.
Yeah, that was
maybe I'll follow these people. Like, look at this woman right here. She's a member of the, she's like a tribal leader, but it also has a PhD in this. So she's somewhat of an intelligent person, and she's giving me information that's on the ground. And wow, those rubber bullets did just fly out of nowhere. They weren't actually being aggressive. They just started firing on them. You know what I mean? So you start, you can actually view things in a better perspective.
Yeah,
and at least a lot of different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So I like that.
Yeah.
And if you look at that side of it, suddenly it doesn't get as negative as it is, and you can find the positives in it and what people are doing to fight back.
Yeah.
And
it's good to promote positive things and things you're doing, and you're.
Yeah.
Now tattooers don't need like you can just look at their resume right in their Instagram and see all the artwork they do and see the stuff they do, the styles. You have to have like a book and portfolio and all that shit.
Dude, how much time are we
got time. We're chilling.
Were you sure?
Yeah,
okay, because I got to tell this one thing.
Tell me.
So
we're good. Yeah.
So
see, Juan.
I was sitting. Oh, he did.
No, I'm see you call. He's coming up here today too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I just saw him. So I mean, imagine this, like, because people think like, how much has tattooing changed? Really, you're just putting ink into the skin. You know what I mean? People doing it for millions of years. Millions of years, it hasn't changed. I said to these, I was talking to these younger guys, and they're great tattooers. They're awesome, really, really good dudes. But I was at dinner with them after the San Francisco convention, and I go, well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you one way it's changed.
Yeah.
When I started tattooing, I had to learn how to use a film camera. I had a Nichromat. I still have it.
Yeah.
And I had to use a Nichromat, and I had to learn aperture, shutter speed, how it all worked.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to take photos of a tattoo without glare and all that. And I was taking terrible photos, and I learned how to get better at it. And I would take a photo of a tattoo, and I would unload. Dude, if I did a good tattoo, I was like, fuck, dude, I got to get a photo of this for my book.
Yeah.
I would drop an entire roll, an entire 24 exposure roll on that whole tattoo.
Damn.
Just to make sure I got every angle. I would take them to
all
different spots, and I learned a lot by doing it because I found there were sweet spots in the room where I get a better photo, where the lighting was better. And then I would get, once I finally had like a Ziploc bag or a alpha beta. Remember alpha beta bag filled with film canisters. I would take it down to get processed, and I would get all my film processed, and I'd be like, hey, will you push it a couple, like a stop?
Yeah.
You get a little contrast on those tattoos, because after that, it's not like I can Photoshop it.
Yeah.
And they would, they'd do all these rolls of film for me, and I'd pay an arm and a leg, and then I'd take them home, and I'd look through all the negatives, and I would find every one that I liked, and I'd look through the prints. I'd get one, prints made. And then I would go back and I'd mark them all. And I'd say, I want 10 copies made of all these. Damn. And they would make copies, and I would put one in my book, and I'd keep a couple extra on the side. And then I would start writing letters. Handwritten letters, because there ain't no freaking
DIY.
email.
No email.
This email just started to come out, and I didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
So I would do handwritten letters, and I'd put like 5 or 6 in there. And some of them were to people that I would probably never get a letter back from. People I looked up to that I'd learn about where their shop was in tattoo magazines.
Yeah.
And I would write a letter, and I'd introduce myself, or some people I was corresponding with, I already gotten letters back.
Yeah.
I'd say, hey, so-and-so, here's some new tattoos that I did. I did an approach like this. And then they would be doing the same thing, and sometimes months would go by. Sometimes I'd never get a letter back. Some people were good about it, and I'd get a letter back real quick, and I'd be like, oh, rad, look at these photos that they did. Yeah. And I'd keep those photos. And
swapping pictures. And
yeah, man, it was
cool.
Cool. It was old school correspondence of writing letters.
It's like band swapping demos in the mail back then.
Yeah, totally. And that took, that was a process that took months and months, sometimes years, to see other people's tattoos and what they were doing.
That's crazy.
And then digital cameras came out. Man, I bought my first digital camera for like $450.
Jesus.
And it was a 2.8 megapixel Sony digital camera that was like the size of like two of my fists, you know? And I had to have it. And then I had one of those big Mac bubble computers that were like a color. It was like orange or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, look at this. I can actually put my photo in here and I can save it on a file. And this is amazing. I don't have to go down the film store anymore and do all this.
Develop film, yeah.
And now, man, I do a tattoo. Y'all know, listening, where I'm going with this.
Crazy.
But I mean, you have to say it out loud. I go over and I take that person that I just finished that tattoo. And I flip open my phone that is also a camera, an amazing camera. And I take a photo of that tattoo and I post it and I kind of clean it up, take a little bit of the redness out so people can see what the gray shades look like. And I post it on a platform for the entire world.
It's crazy.
To see if they decide to. And then I go and I start scrolling through, or I'll pick a couple of people I want to see what tattoos they've been doing, and I can see everybody's work from all over the world in an instant, from wherever I am. Whether I'm on the train or whether I'm at home and my kids are asleep, everything's at my fingertips. It's instant. Now it's something that took months, maybe even years. Yeah. You know?
That's crazy, man.
And so so I looked at these kids and I go, so that's like, one thing that's changed.
That's a major,
and they were blown away and they just looked at me and he goes, yeah, that's a big change. It was actually this guy Jason Hanna and this other kid Mikey Holmes.
Okay,
and they're both amazing tattooers and really good. They're good dudes.
But all the stuff you had to do just to get a photo and a portfolio.
Just to get a photo and a portfolio, and if your photo got stolen, their portfolio got stolen.
That's like all your work. Like,
yeah, man, that's your life.
It's almost like for musicians or just people like music. We would go get a punk record and see what the thank you list was on the back, see the bands that they shouted out or the t-shirts they were wearing. Then we try to find that shirt or that band because we had to do the research and go to the record stores and like search for these music we heard about.
Yeah.
The word of mouth. Like the hustle and the discovery of finding your music. And it's the same, I mean, like all the shit you had to do. But now I just go online, I can click on my phone, pick out a band, discography comes up. On Spotify, I can listen to everything.
And change isn't always bad. Like, I like that. I like that these, I can just go and see these people's tattoos and do that stuff. And I like when some old schoolers see it and they like that. Like Good Time Charlie. I remember years ago, these guys, I was at like a reunion party and some of the guys were like making fun of me about how, I Photoshop and all these things. They're like, oh yeah, well you're creating your tattoos on Photoshop and this and that. And I'm like, check it out, dude. I'm like, I can draw an eagle and it's two wings and you need them exactly the same. Well, I'll draw the head and all that, but then I'll have the eagle and then I'll scan it in real quick in 2 seconds. I'll flip it on Photoshop and I'll put it on there and I'll print it out and then I'll make the stencil. And while you're still drawing, I'm done with we're just doing the tattoo. I'm done and I'm fitting in another walk-in. I'm finishing like 45 minutes sooner, and that's a whole nother tattoo I could do by the end of the day. And they kind of all went, whatever. And then the group of guys kind of dispersed a little bit. Yeah. And then Charlie comes up to me. He's all, hey Tim, tell me a little bit more about this Photoshop thing.
Oh, shit,
and I thought that was rad. And he kind of smiled, and I was like, well, check it out. So you got to have a computer though in the shop. And you do this, and he just wanted to hear about it because. He looked at it as like, whoa, this is a change. And that he's saving time, which time is money. And we could make more tattoos at the end of the day. Yeah. And he saw the value in that. And he goes, tell me a little bit more about this thing.
That's amazing, man.
So there's value in change. You just have to look for it and see it. And some of it doesn't. Some of it is just like,
I know. So now you're at Classic Tattooing Fullerton. Lindsay Carmichael works there.
Yeah, Lindsay works there.
It's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what's that like now, like tattooing now in 2019 after everything?
I love it, man. It's amazing. And, Classic is really cool. Obviously, it's got a lot of history. But, I work with, like, dude, it's crazy. So Lindsay, Bucky, Bill and I. We all worked together at the shop.
awesome.
We all did our first tattoos in the same year. We've all been tattooing.
Same amount of
just
time.
like, dude, like since the early 90s. But it's
crazy.
all the exact year we all started.
That's awesome, man.
But then we have guys like Javier and then Jeff that was in the shop.
Yeah.
You know, and Chuco's older generation
Yeah.
as well. But like we have these youngers and this guy Jose that's in there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are our younger generation, and I love, dude, they inspire me.
It's awesome.
Like they make me feel young again. They make me feel like it
so many
makes
new
me feel
ones.
like a kid again. I'm always
Yeah.
feeling young and feeling fresh and learning new stuff and trying new little tricks. And I call them over. What would you do here? And
Yeah.
Javi will be like, I just go red all the way up to the line. I'm like, you wouldn't leave a little space? Are you crazy? And he's like, no, just go red all the way up to the line. I'm like, okay. And I do it. And I look at him like, man, that little trick is such smart tattooing. You know, they're so much smarter now the way they do things.
So even you see all kinds of, you're learning new stuff still.
Yeah. I'm always
That's
learning.
crazy,
I mean, dude,
man, from new tattoo artists.
what would I be if I wasn't learning new ways? You know,
Yeah,
like,
for tattooing, it's fucking.
yeah, that's what's rad about art is that you're never done.
Is there one style that people love to get now? Is it like a trendy style? Because it was
now
traditional,
there's-
it was tribal, it was all this stuff, you know?
There's so many styles. I feel like as far as the trendy style now, it's more of like
Those single line looking.
like accessories.
Yeah,
you know?
I've seen a lot of young kids like single line prison looking things, like weird artsy things, like rent all over them, like
Yeah.
black line things. Yeah,
Yeah, like Dr. Wu,
Yeah.
like Wu.
Yeah.
Like Wu does a lot of, he kind of coined, he's the one who's famous for that.
yeah. He did Drake, the thing on Drake's arm, the portrait of his dad.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, Wu's a badass
He
tattooer.
is. I've seen a lot of his
like
stuff.
he could set up and bust out one of the baddest traditional tattoos that anyone ever seen, and nobody knows that. Like, dude, he's got Eric Mosky tattoos on him. He
Oh,
got
wow.
tattooed by Eric Mosky.
That's awesome.
And he learned at Shamrock under Mark Mahoney. Like,
Yeah.
he's legit fucking badass tattooer.
Yeah, he blew up. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
gets hated on, bro.
He does.
Yeah, and it sucks.
I saw a cool thing
because it's
online
like-
about him. Vice did. It was really cool, actually.
Yeah, they
Day in
did
Life,
a,
something. I don't know.
They did the tattoo age.
Yeah.
Did they do a tattoo age on him? Yeah.
He's got a spot at the Roosevelt or something.
Yes, he does. And he's
came
doing
up.
great. He's doing
Yeah.
awesome. More power to him.
Yeah, but I love those. I love that like Shamrock's still there and Spotlight. Those old school like
Yeah, man.
classic, obviously. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
were both those spots. Yeah,
Yeah, I worked at Spotlight for about 4 years.
and you were at Shamrock. I seen you there. I think right. You were there.
No, I
you
never
never
got to
did?
work at
Okay.
Shamrock. Yeah.
All right.
Garver did. Garver worked
yeah,
there and
Garver,
then came
yeah.
over and opened True Tattoo, and we all worked together at True.
Garvey used to tattoo me in the early '90s at Fun City with Jonathan
dude.
Shaw. We used to all go to us and Sick of It All and Gnostic Front, Madball, all the bands he tattooed all of us back then.
Yeah,
I think it was
dude.
almost illegal, like in '90
It was.
or something.
It was illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go there. It was crazy.
And didn't he live with Mike Ledger, right?
Yeah, Mikey Ledger. He tattooed me too. Yeah, Mikey Ledger. back
Yeah,
in the
Ledger's
day.
cool.
And New York Adorned. And Scott Harrison.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to read about all of them in magazines.
That's crazy, man. Scott Sylvia, fucking Juan Puente, obviously Civ. Civ used to do practice tattoos on me and the guys in Sick of It All in his apartment on Avenue B.
Yeah, Siv's a
My
man.
first stomach rocker he did on me, like,
Don't you wish you had more like? Don't you wish we had phones then?
yeah, imagine.
But I guess it wouldn't have been as cool then.
No phones, no pictures back
You know,
then.
if we had phones then,
What
it
about
wouldn't
the
it wouldn't
crazy
be as
shit you
cool.
were doing back then? Not doing no phones back then. All the shit kids were doing.
Dude.
It would have been so different.
Yeah, it's
Our kids will never know life without phones and
kids
social media and all that stuff.
our kids are growing up in a very interesting time.
Yeah.
I was thinking that on the way up here. I was going, man, I'm gonna have to explain to my son that I grew up in a time without internet. Mm-hmm. You know?
It's hard to believe because that's all they know. It's like,
Yeah, like the first time I had to, like, if I wanted to talk to a girl that I liked, I had to ask her for her number. You know
Totally.
how much nerve it took to
Totally.
ask a girl for her number in person?
Yeah.
You know, not DMing her or liking, like, well, I've been liking her photos and like commenting on them for a while.
That's like flirting
and then
now, I guess,
That's
right?
flirting. So, like, I had
Wow.
to ask, you had to ask her for her number and then you had to go home. Oh my God, do you remember how long it took to work up the nerve to call her? With the
Yeah.
long cord, my mom had to finally go, we went through so many
you just
cords.
take the cord and wrap it around and hide somewhere. So you
Yeah,
can
I go
call
in.
a
I go
girl.
in like the outside. I go in the back porch and close the door, and the cord was caught in the door, and I'd be sitting there on the back porch so I could have some privacy because I couldn't think. I had brothers and like a sister
You
and
sneak the call and shit.
dude, and so I would work up the nerve and call and be like, "Is Joanna there?" That was my first girlfriend,
Yeah.
And that's crazy, man. You
I
know?
Yeah. I guess now, I asked Max to say, because Max, we had a rotary phone here for a long time, but it sounded so creepy when it rang. Oh, it's still there. It just doesn't
Yeah,
work
it's
anymore.
still there.
But we used to make Max call his friends on this rotary phone so he could learn how to dial a phone and like call somebody. That was a big part of him growing up using that phone before he had a
Yeah.
phone. Call people, talk to him on the phone. So then when he got a cell phone, he started talking. He's always on the phone talking. But he told me that it's not normal to talk on the phone. Like if you meet a girl, you're supposed to text. If you call, that's too personal.
Yeah.
If they talk in voice to voice, that's like too much.
That's crazy.
No, dude. It's DMing, and most of Max's communication, it's not through texting, it's through Snapchat. So he's conversating through Snapchat through friends. He doesn't text his friends. It's so weird, man.
They're hanging out, but they're not hanging out.
Well, yeah, he does hang out. He's in a band. He does.
Yeah, I know,
you
but I mean, like,
yeah, but like, it's Snapchat. It's not a direct phone number. He doesn't have people's phone numbers. It's just Snapchat.
that's so wild to me. I call people, dude. I pick up and call people, and you know what's crazy? It gets a lot done. You get
on the phone,
so
yeah.
much done. You just pick up the phone. Like you're finding out, well, I'll email them, or I'll text them, or I'll do this. And I'm like, you know what? Well, let me see. Oh, there's a number on the site. I'm all, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
My name's Tim. I own a tattoo supply company over here.
Yeah.
We're looking at some things that you build, and I'm wondering if I could have a certain thing made. Yeah, you know what? Dude, I just got like 5 days of emails back and forth done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and then you develop some personal relationship with them.
Yeah, nobody does that
and they
no more.
like you. They're like, you know what? They're more apt to do something for you, do you a favor.
Yeah. And the communication as far as like humans to human, it's sad because I try to text people all the time or call people, but sometimes I feel like people, they'll see on your Instagram, oh, he's on tour. Oh, he's hiking. Oh, he's doing this. He's good. He's safe. He's alive. He's fine.
Yeah.
But how do you know what I'm actually going through? Like, you know, like people think, oh, he's okay, so they don't reach out to us. And you lose this communication where people aren't checking in with each other because they see you on there.
Yeah.
And they think it's
They're
weird, man.
staying connected, but it's not personal.
Yeah. I
You know what I
don't
mean?
like that, man.
No, I don't like it either.
I really don't. I just feel like it's a total disconnect. Like
I know.
Because sometimes motherfuckers look like they're happy, but they're really not. We know that. There's a lot of smoky mirrors on social media. But for some people are going through shit, and really they're...
That's why on my Instagram, it's just all business, dude.
I know, I like that.
I
That's
just post photos of tattoos, or I try to help people
Yeah.
on Instagram. You
Yeah.
know?
You answer DMs too?
Only people I follow.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll see one that's like, it stands out, but I just have a huge box of just people, you know. How do I go about getting a tat? It's like, dude, it says right there, there's my emails right there. Yo, where are you located? They can't even push the directions button of where the shop is.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So I try to answer a lot of my DMs of people, you know, if it's somebody I follow, then they DM me, it goes straight through and I see it. But otherwise I don't see it. I have all my notifications turned off. So people always tell me, they're like, dude, you didn't see that thing I tagged you in? I'm like, no, bro. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to either DM this post to me personally or...
I like that.
You know what I mean? Or text me, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't have any notifications. I have one notification. If somebody posts something, there's one person that if she posts something, it gives me a notification, and that's my wife. And that's it. That's the only notification I have turned on.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. And it's just, my Instagram's a business.
Yeah.
It's there for business, and it's there to help people.
Yeah.
So if somebody's going through something and they have a GoFundMe, I'll try and post it. And sometimes I don't see them until it's too late, and I feel horrible, and I'm feeling all bad.
Yeah.
And my wife or somebody have to remind me, hey, you know, these are levels of good that you're living in here. You didn't do anything bad. You just didn't see what was going on because you're never on Instagram.
No, I know.
And no one told you. And so I fucked up, and I'm like, fuck, I didn't repost this, or I didn't see it, or, you know, it's hard.
You do a lot of cool things with saltwater tattoo, with the guns too. Like, you do things to raise money for people and stuff, and I've seen you do that in the past.
Yeah, I'll post it. Dude, I mean, it's a machine. I could just go build a machine in my garage real quick and then post it, and that night raise $600 for somebody who it could help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How could I not do that?
Yeah, you did that for me before. Thank you with the PMA ones. That was awesome.
That's like Spider-Man shit, bro. With great power comes great responsibility.
The last thing I'm going to say is that you're an amazing skateboarder, and I've skated with you before we really knew each other. Maybe on the Warped Tour or somewhere, like a mini ramp.
It might have been on the Warped Tour. I was tattooing an Oliver's thing.
Yeah, but you're like a really good skater. You still skate?
You know what? I haven't been skating a lot lately because I've been spending so much time with the kids, and it's been raining a lot and all that.
Maybe let's start skating,
And also, I kind of feel like I have one last hurrah of like a last decade of skateboarding left in me, and I want to save it for my kids.
That's smart.
Build a mini ramp in the backyard, and So I
That's
think,
awesome.
Yeah. So right now I'm focusing on the kids. Skateboarding is always going to be there, and I'll always skateboard, and I'll always
you're really
surf.
good, though.
Thank you.
Do you want to be professional as a kid or anything, or no, just skating for fun?
Nah, I just skated for fun. I was sponsored, amateur sponsored, but I just did it because I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, skateboarding, surfing, and snowboarding, I just love.
Yeah.
I love them all.
I love them all. I can't really snowboard, but I enjoy falling down just as much as I do going down the hill. It's so fun. My wife's really good. My wife is going to marry this pro snowboarder back in the day called Mike Rankwit.
No way. Yeah, I know that name.
In the 90s,
Yeah.
he was the dude that I came... so she's on the next podcast. She's on the podcast, but she was going to marry that dude, and I came in to get a second chance, and everything changed. But that was... She was going to marry that guy. I was going to buy her a pink house and Seattle, and I still have his snowboards in my garage. It's going to be on the episode. That's why I'm talking about it now. So it's not like I'm telling you.
I can't wait to hear that story.
Yeah, but so I got a second chance. But she was going to marry this dude, and my wife's an amazing snowboarder. This motherfucker taught her and shit. So it's pretty cool, though. Shout out to Mike Rankwit. I ran into him several times past 20 years. He's awesome. Came to my first show with Moon and all this stuff. Remember him, the snowboarder?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
On that note, we covered everything on my notes. Let me see. This is 2 hours. This is 2 hours, but this is a fucking awesome 2 hours.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Carried all this, everything about you on here. Yeah, man. We didn't talk. We talked about a little climate. Also, you like electric cars or something?
Well, I have one.
Okay, awesome.
I bought a Tesla.
Oh, sick. Awesome.
Yeah.
A couple of my friends have that.
I drank the Kool-Aid, bro.
Okay, but Teslas are cool though, right?
Yeah, well, I really wanted to get. I was just sick of paying gas, bro. Honestly, I'm sick of giving oil companies my money.
Got you.
That's just basically it. Climate change or not, it doesn't matter. We don't even have to go to that level. But I'm just sick of giving oil companies my money. And then people say, well, where do you think the electricity comes from? That's what people said. When I posted on my Twitter that I got an electric car, a lot of people said, well, where do you think the electricity that charges your cars comes from, idiot? And I just wrote them back and said, my solar panels.
Yeah, idiot.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, yeah, but if you charge at night, where do you think it comes from? I go, the backup battery I got with my solar panels, that stores a bunch of electricity.
It's
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I was just sick of giving oil companies my money, so I got panels with backup battery, and I got a Tesla.
Sick.
And
I want.
Yeah, I do have it here with me.
You got the T. What's it? The X1?
I got the Model 3. That's all I could afford.
Okay, it's different.
Dude, those things are expensive.
There's different levels of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually could only afford it because I traded in. My wife bought herself a Forester, and she makes payments on it.
Sick.
And we sold both our Forerunners. I had two Forerunners, and we sold them. And so I put the money I got from the Forerunners down on the Tesla. And with all the rebates you get back on them, because you get so many electrical rebates, I only financed it for... like 24. My payments are $380.
Awesome,
you know,
man,
and then but I'm also saving $150, $200 in gas.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I'm really
it rides smooth. It's awesome.
I'm only coming out of pocket like $150, $200 a month now, more to ride a Tesla.
And you fucking earned it, bro.
It's the best car I've ever owned in my life.
Damn.
And I built tons of lowriders. I built tons of motorcycles. I know I can build you a combustion engine with my eyes closed.
That's awesome.
I love old cars. I love old classic. You know what I mean? I love it, man. And it's still the best car I've ever owned in my life.
Wow.
I can never go back. For my daily driver car, I can never go back to a combustion engine.
Wow.
It's the most efficient, most amazing thing I've ever owned. And I never have to stop at a gas station again. And people are like, well, yeah, but don't you worry about running out of energy? I'm like, I got 310 miles of the charge.
Oh, shit.
And I basically, imagine if you had a gas car and you had a pump in your driveway.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't you just always stay full? You just, I'm just going to put some gas in.
Every night.
And then go to bed. I don't even have to sit and wait for it to pump. I just plug it in and go inside, and it has a timer on it. So it starts sucking down energy at a certain time. And I wake up in the morning and it's charged again.
It's fucking sick.
Yeah, so...
It's the best thing you've invested in, probably.
It's one of the best investments I made besides my spine.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true, too.
But yeah, it's incredible, dude. It's the best car I've ever owned in my life. I mean...
We should do a commercial for them.
I know, right? I know. But
that's awesome, man.
But yeah,
I'm gonna check it out right now.
Yeah. Have you ever driven in one?
No. Yeah, I might have. They're really quiet too, right?
They're quiet, and it's the fastest thing I've ever been in my life. It's like as fast as my motorcycles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it gave me a headache by the end of the day. The first day I got it because I was punching it so much.
Yeah.
It was pushing my brain back in my head, and I had like a slight concussion basically from it because it was so fast.
Fuck. I'm going to check it out right now. I
right,
think we
cool.
covered everything though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, sorry.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you for everything. Thank you for supporting my One Life One Chance too. Amazing painting you made for me and making those guns for me. Doing beautiful tattoos on me. What did you do on me? Did my neck on me? What else you do on me? What else you do on me?
I did a bunch of stuff on your back.
My flag, yeah. And racism. I'm honored to call you my friend. We met several times throughout my life. Living in New York, coming here through all that tattoo artist, but
yeah,
I appreciate you in my life and all the things you've been through. Thanks for sharing them with me today.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
This was awesome.
Yeah, cool.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
That was great. Hey, y'all, Liquid Death's been so kind to give me a promo code. So for your first purchase on liquiddeath.com, go to liquiddeath.com/OLOC, and you get a free set of koozies with your first purchase of H2O, still or sparkling. If not, you can try it also at Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. Use the promo code OLOC for your first purchase of Liquid Death. Thank you, Liquid Death, for your support. Appreciate you so much. Murder your thirst. H2O saves lives, y'all.